All right, so I've started the recording. If you're watching this on YouTube somehow, I don't know how this specific video came up in your recommended or your feed, but I'm a Ratchet and Clank fan since like 2008 or 2009, and I've been speedrunning these games for 5 years. And this is my tier list from someone that's been playing for a while, and I think my opinion is incredibly different to a lot of people, which is why this is the tier list that I think has value to go on YouTube. So the way we're gonna do this, by the way, is we're gonna spin this wheel. This is all the Ratchet and Clank games I've beaten. I haven't completed Secret Agent Clank or Full Frontal Assault, and I don't want to rank them as a result. Doesn't feel right. So we're just gonna spin this wheel, and we're gonna rank whatever game comes out on it until we've done all of the games. So, yeah. This is just casual, by the way. We're not ranking them by the speed run. This is also going to include my thoughts on Rift Apart. I bought the game and I beat it a couple days ago, which is why I'm doing this. Oh! Quest for Booty. Okay, we're starting off with a very funny one. Okay, Quest for Booty.
This shouldn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, okay. This game is weird. This game exists because in Tools of Destruction, they wanted to include an online multiplayer, but of course, with crunch and the PS3 being a lot more complex to develop for, they couldn't really find the time to do that. And so Sony was upset, and Insomniac was like, hey, how about we make a 3-hour PSN only game, except it's only PSN in North America. In other parts of the world, you can buy a physical copy. How about we do that to make it up for you guys? And Sony was like, yeah. And now, 18 or so years later, one question remains unanswered. How the fuck is this supposed to make up for a lack of online multiplayer? I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and, like, isn't Quest for Booty the shortest Ratchet and Clank game? One of, probably the shortest. It's also, like, the only one that doesn't have a New Game Plus mode.
The worst Ratchet games,
This game is honestly not bad. It's just the fact it's just unnecessary. Like, it has a lot of platforming, which is something that even some of the more beloved games like Up Your Arsenal can't really say they have a lot of. Like, Quest for Booty is more of a platformer than Up Your Arsenal, for example. And probably more so than, like, Tools of Destruction as well. The combat is pretty basic, but that's because they're just reusing the enemies from Tools of Destruction. Quest for Booty is mid. Like, I kind of agree, Mapio. It's a mid experience, but if you take it for what it is, it's honestly not bad.
I think the concept is pretty good.
Yeah, like, okay, wait. I'll repeat what she said, just because, again, I don't know how, like, Flower said that the concept is good, and it's decent. Again, this game doesn't need to exist, but it's also not really offensive.
So, like, if I got this for like the first time, as like a first Ratchet game, I think I wouldn't mind, per se.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be, like, the worst experience. I honestly feel like putting it in C tier would be a little bit of a disservice, because this game is a lot better than we give it credit for. It also definitely had a certain aesthetical vibe that people don't really point out, because that does kind of go away after a bit. But they really wanted a dark, moody atmosphere, and I think that's something that's admirable as a survival horror fan. I honestly wouldn't mind putting this in B tier for now. Like again, see, also I should mention, by the way, I think it's a little dumb that tier lists have S tier when it's like, if I don't know why the S tier is there if we are like if this is clearly based off like the American like grading system, so shouldn't it be A, B, C, D, and F, But anyways, yeah. And yeah, if I change my mind, like, I don't know. Quest for Booty is really a B or C tier game. I'm trying to be nice to it, though, because like I said, like, it's not really offensive. It's just unnecessary of a game. All right.
Yeah, it's like, I wouldn't mind playing it.
Yeah. just there's no reason to play it when you could play Tools of Destruction instead, which controls basic. It's literally just, you know.
It's legit. It's just copy and paste.
All right, next game. What are we getting? Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal.
Okay.
Now this game I have a lot of history with. This was like my first Ratchet and Clank game, and like I remember it was 2008, maybe even earlier, 2006. I saw technically he's my uncle, but we all call him my cousin. Well, my other cousins all refer to him as our cousin, like, because he's not that much older than us. But I remember I have a very like clear memory of him playing through the Phoenix Rescue level. I also have memories of one of my other cousins playing like the multiplayer map, the Blackwater City map. And yeah, when I got my PlayStation 2 in 2009, this and Deadlock were the games I got with it because, you know, I wrote to Santa Claus, I want these two games with my PS2 because I didn't know the other games existed at the time. And Santa Claus brought it to me.
Yeah. It's a real Santa Claus, by the way.
Yeah. The first thing I want to point out a negative with this game that nobody points out, and it kind of brings the experience down. Show the physical. I'm gonna show. Okay, I'll bring my physical copies. I'll show you. I have a couple copies of this game. Okay, I'm gonna start with a major negative, but then I'm gonna like also point out some smaller nitpicks, and then I'll gush of this game. Because just like all of you, I do love this game. I feel like I don't show it enough, but I do genuinely love Up Your Arsenal. So I also have a greatest hits copy at my parents' house, but obviously here's the beautiful NTSC black label cover. Fun fact, the back of the manual for this game, on the black label version, it advertises a USB headset, and on the greatest hits version, which again, I don't have on me at the moment, it actually has an ad for Deadlocked, and the greatest hits version is clearly superior for that. I'm kidding. This disc, come on, man, this is beauty right here. The greatest hits, yeah, at the top, it's red, and it says greatest hits. I can name, like, almost every weapon on this. The only ones I can't name are, like, obscured by something. But this is I'm not here to talk about physical like stuff like cases. It's just I want to show off that because I love this game.
Media.
I actually have this. It's a PAL copy of Ouya. It's specifically from the UK. The disc art is fucking great. It's really weird and memey, but also kind of cool. You have Secret Agent Clank and Courtney Gears. And my copy specifically, not every PAL copy. So obviously I have the manual, but it also comes with 3 inserts. So one of them, this is the blank side. It has an ad for going mobile. Then there's this little slip for a demo disc called Fire It Up. And on the back side, you have games like Jack X, Ratchet Gladiator, as it was called over there. You have like what, Everybody's Golf, SOCOM 3. Okay, I'm gonna skip this song. I don't hate this song, but I don't love it either. Let's go to Ratchet Deadlock. And then the coolest insert that comes with the PAL copy, at least this one, is this one where on one side it's Sly 2 and Jack 3. I literally have this as like the like when I stack all of these to put them into the part that holds the manual, I have it so that the first thing you see is Sly 2 because I love Sly 2 as well.
Whenever you get your package, hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Roxas, what did I walk into? I'm ranking all the Ratchet and Clank games. Right now we're on Up Your Arsenal. Now, again, before I talk about Ouya, here's one that most Ratchet and Clank fans cannot say they have.
Tell me, now!
The Korean version of Up Your Arsenal. Very rare. If you try and look for this on eBay, this shit goes for like $150. I got it for $60. Shout out to my boy Dill Wingo. I fucking love you, Dill Wingo.
They go for 200, actually, on eBay.
Unfortunately, the disc is not that interesting. It's just a render of Clank and it's white. And the manual... Have I played that? Yes, actually. I have played through, like... I've done a speedrun of all titanium bolts on this, and I've also, like, beaten most of the game. The front of the manual is this art. It's kind of hard to see. And then the back is the Q-Force. So the only major Ouya release I'm missing now is Japanese. But yeah, can you tell that I love this game? So, anyways, so let me actually gush about this game that I own many copies of.
Putting Omega weapons on Korean was not faster than US? What? That makes no sense.
Anyways, so first, one of my major gripes with this game that I really need to get out of the way before I start talking about the positives. This game has, like, the worst pacing ever. Like, the pacing is really bad. And it kind of makes it so that every time things get hype, it kind of, like, stops. And here's what I mean. Here, let me look up, like, a Let's Play. No, I don't want to use AI.
I kind of hated the story for Black 3, honestly.
I think that's fair. Okay. Here, let me, This is how the pacing goes in Ratchet 3. So you start off with... Do I like the pacing? Yes. So you start off with Veldin, then Florana, and then you go to the Starship Phoenix, and then you're on Marcadia. And so far, the game has a steady pace, you know. Everything feels good. You're having some Ratchet and Clank fun. But then, all of a sudden, 10 minutes of Ranger missions. 2 of them are fun. 1 of them is a turret. 1 of them is an endurance challenge. And then another fun one where you go around with bolt cranks. And you think, okay, Marcadia was quite long. And not all of it was fun. I can't wait to get off this planet. And then you have to do this puzzle segment. And this puzzle segment is really long. And it's not fun. But then you think, okay, well, Marcadia is done. Let's get back to the game. No, you have to go do the vid comics. It's like, what the hell? Then afterwards, you go to Annihilation Nation, and you think... to be fair, Nautical, I don't mind Marcadia either. I just think
I think it's really long.
Yeah, it's like, the puzzle section's not fun, and half the Ranger missions aren't fun. So after Annihilation Nation, you think, okay, we now have a secret mission on Aquatos. That should be fun. But this level, it has great aesthetics. Like, the idea of an underwater base is awesome. But having to constantly wait for Skid is not fun. I don't like this. It makes this level is really much a slog to play through. And then after that, you have the Clank section and the tier guys. Then the game picks up again when you get to Tyrannosis, and the game actually has a steady pace for a pretty long while. Tyrannosis, Dax, albeit the hacker missions, are also another pace killer. Like, you'll be doing an obstacle course, and you have to do 3 hacker missions or something. That's not fun. On Dax, you know. It's not about the game being slow, it's about the pacing, like, being really, like, bad. I'm not going to go through the whole game to talk about the pacing. I'll end it on the note that when you get to Hollow Star Studios, once again, another slog of a level where you start with...
so bad casually.
You start with a Clank section, which isn't fun. A giant Clank section, which in theory should be fun, but halfway through, like, beating Talos, you have to fight the ninjas, and the ninjas aren't fun to fight. And then the Ratchet section is fun, except for the constant hacker puzzles. Thanks for pointing this out. Yes, even games like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space have flaws. And again, I nitpick because I like this game, because I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't talk about it.
Rack 2 is my favorite, and yeah, that game also has major flaws.
Yeah, so... that is honestly my biggest problem with Up Your Arsenal, is that the pacing is really bad. There's also a couple other things. The game's like art style and graphics overall are a bit inferior to the previous games. I think the OST is the weakest of the PS2 games. What else? Um, the vid comics are a bit underbaked. But now let's talk about the positives. The very first positive is the weapon arsenal. I think Ratchet 2's weapon arsenal was kind of weak. I think in Up Your Arsenals, though, it's still not the greatest. They do that thing that I really hate, where weapons from the start of the game are no longer viable by the midway point. I know it's because they want to encourage players to use new weapons, but in a game with like a ton of unique creative weapons and you're supposed to pick the right one for the situation, it feels like they don't want you to pick the one that you think is best for the situation by making it weak, you know? I do still think a lot of weapons are strong and good. So a lot of the fun ones are still strong anyways. The shock cannon, yeah, the shock cannon is the exception. The N60 Storm is actually decent by like the halfway point, but of course it falls off, I think. The Annihilator's fun to use. The Disc Blade Gun and Rift Inducer are great. They bring back some really great weapons from Ratchet and Clank 2. The Suck Cannon is even better.
The bouncer in Ouya.
The Suck Cannon is even better than it was in Ratchet 1. Like, the weapon selection is great. There are still some stinkers. The Hollow Shield Glove is by far the most pointless weapon ever. Because of
It's broken on. It is worse on PS3.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the weapons are worse. Domka 26. How was Size Matters all titanium bolts? We're ranking a game. We're ranking the games in a fun way, I guess.
You're a Ratchet runner. We got loads of cool people.
Anyways, I really want to put Up Your Arsenal in S tier. But at the same time, I also, like... I really don't know where I want to put... It also has multiplayer. It has Dr. Nefarious. Before he was overused. This game, by the way... So, a little fun fact. This is the first game to have a dedicated writer. But it doesn't show. You wouldn't be able to tell. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Hold on, wait. Wait. I'm going to add a tier called... add a row below. I'm going to put this in, like, I'm going to start putting the games in this tier right here. So that way you know which game are we talking about. So, because I don't want to leave it in A or S and then, you know, the dedicated writer did not do his job. I think he did it well. The reason I say that, you can't really tell they have a dedicated writer is because they still have a very consistent tone and still definitely feels like a fun, wacky, cartoonish game. Like the scene, for example, where Ratchet's trying to give a speech on Captain Quark after his presumed death, which I won't lie, that actually hits a little harder now that I'm saying this out loud. Yeah, his presumed death. They thought he died, but obviously, as it turns out, he was still alive. Again, sorry, it is hitting a little hard right now because it's like I've been thinking of Jim Ward a little bit, because Eli's been playing Resident Evil 4, and he voiced the character in that, and now it's like I'm talking about Quark. I played Rift Apart, where they have a character there who's supposed to be the Captain Quark replacement, and it's like, rest in peace, Jim Ward. Gone way too soon. Anyways. But yeah, they still have some fun, wacky, cool, funny cutscenes. One, it was... I don't really care for the mating season joke that much. Maybe it's just because I've had a lot of exposure to it.
Noobster.
Hi, Noobster. But if you ask me for a good, yeah, we lost Coyote too. I forgot about that. Yeah, the bullshit line. When Captain Quark, stomps on the Mama Tyrannoid and he's like, I couldn't have done it without these massive guns. I like the galactic. I think it's cool that Ratchet becomes a sergeant, and you know, throughout the whole time, you know, the Rangers start off being kind of whatever, then they get progressively more cowardly. Like you're straight up hearing them say like, "Oh, we have a thing to do. We can't help you." And then the comeback in the Dr. Nefarious fight where they straight up are throwing like quips saying like, you want some of this? With the badass Dr. Nefarious. I know I just said that I think it has the weakest OST. It's weak in the same way that having $1,000 is worse than having $1,010. But let's see. I think the fact that I still consider this game super goated, even with its flaws, is like, I don't know. Ratchet being a sergeant is such a cool concept. I think the cutscenes are still really memorable and funny and fun. The weapons are great. The addition of multiplayer.
How you all doing?
You know what? Yeah. I love this game. It has a lot of flaws. This game sucks ass a lot, but it's also like a fucking goated game. It sucks shit, but the parts that don't suck shit make it not suck ass. We might change this ranking. We might move it down to A tier, but it's like, I think I'd honestly give this a 9 out of 10. S tier is like 9 or 10 out of 10. A is like 8 or 7. B is 6 or 5 out of 10, you know, that kind of deal. I'll put it there for now. We might change it later, but for now it's like, yeah, replaying it would be a bit of a slog with the pacing, but going on Tyrannosis or Metropolis or fighting Dr. Nefarious, it has some of the best bosses in the series. You got Courtney Gears, the Mama Tyrannoid, the Dr. Nefarious. I know people don't like the Bio-Obliterator because it's easy, but I think the Bio-Obliterator is fun. I appreciate it for what it is. Next game.
I just looked what you got.
Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 4. Was that Courtney's moon? Yes, the third moon. Where oh, what the hell? Where Skid is like, I have to use a crowbar. That's Obani Draco, but it's listed as a separate like planet in the Easy D. Ratchet Runner. You're so right. This game, okay. If I remove my personal bias from this game is honestly like a C or B tier.
I would even put it in F. I would respect to whoever puts it in F.
This game. Hold on, I'm gonna turn down the music even more. Wait, I'm gonna turn it down on my end. Again, I'm sorry it's quiet, it's just... Anyways. Was the game better than the movie at least? In the same way that having diarrhea is better than vomiting. I'm sorry for putting that thought in your mind. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna start a gift sub jar. If I make a super gross comment like that during this tier list, I will gift a sub. So that'll incentivize me not to, you know... It didn't do... Yeah, that's the thing, Ratchet Runner. People say this game is fun, and in a sense, they are right. I just took a sip of... I'm so sorry, Roxas. I genuinely apologize for the gross out comment again. If I do it again, I will gift a sub. That is a promise, so I won't make any more gross out comments. So, here's the thing. The game is fun, yes. The combat is fluid. But...
Everything else was just butchered.
It's not just that everything else is butchered. Like, okay, again, I have a bias against this game. Like, I've grown to hate it more because I love Ratchet 1 a lot. It's one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah, this just trashes Rack 1.
The fact that the Twitch directory makes Ratchet 1 have the year and not Ratchet 2016, as if it's trying to say, this is the definitive game called Ratchet and Clank, it's like, you know... Like... It's fine. If you purchase it and you need a quick game or platformer to kill some time, you're gonna have a good time, honestly. But if you're like a Ratchet and Clank fan, first of all, why are like all of the like... I know a lot of Ratchet and Clank fans don't like this reviewer, the Gaming Brit Show. He's the one that made the 80-minute video comparing this to Ratchet 1. I know many Ratchet fans don't like him, but there is a reason his video did so well, because he's kind of one of the major points that I agree with, that I think a lot of people could agree with. Between giving us some new weapons or bringing back the ones from the first game, they reused ones from the Future series for some reason. And same here, Ratchet Runner. I've watched that video so many times. It used to be a thing that I'd watch it like once a year. I stopped doing that because, you know, I mean, I already know how I feel about
I
this
never
game.
watched it before.
The reason why I can't say that this game being fun saves it is because of one other aspect. Nobody shuts up in this game. There is constant chatter. Like, if you... Like, here's some examples of some dialogue that I can remember that you guys might not know of. First of all, we all know the infamous come and buy the pixelizer. But it's not just the pixelizer where that happens. He will yap at you for other weapons too. I remember him doing that for the Groovitron, I think. So it's not exclusive to the pixelizer. He will tell you off if you don't buy certain guns. And he keeps reminding you. One time, I remember, I saw a Let's Play of this game, and the person was in one of the final levels. He was just grabbing some crates. Before continuing. Ratchet says, I wonder if there's a trespasser puzzle somewhere. Like, can you give some time for the player to explore? I also remember there's a bit of dialogue you can trigger where the girl that looks like Talwyn, Cora, she's voiced by Bella Thorne. She'll say like, Ratchet, Clank, what are you doing? And Ratchet will literally just say, we were just I don't know what we were doing. Like, why do they do this? And it's not just Insomniac Games. Like, I do see people dunk on Insomniac for this stuff, but it's other developers too. Santa Monica, Capcom, probably TT Games. I think they did that in Skywalker Saga. But Ratchet PS4 is one of the worst when it comes to this. And that alone makes the game not fun to play. And you could turn down the speech volume, yes, but I shouldn't have to feel the need to turn it down in a casual playthrough. For another game that we're gonna rank, I never felt the need to turn down the speech volume in a casual playthrough, only in speedruns. But in a casual playthrough, I did do that. And if you know what game I'm talking about, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. So it's not real. So it's not even that fun to. It's not fun to play because you're constantly, you know. Would you feel Ratchet? I'm not really sure, Roxas. The Sly movie looks better than the Sly movie trailer looked a lot better than the Ratchet movie, but that's not a high bar. I don't need any more Sly content though. I am happy with Sly 1, 2, and 3. That too. Clank. The cutscenes are also so bad. There's 3 types of cutscenes in this game. The ones that are just movie scenes. The ones where Ratchet and Clank just stand like this. I am Clank. This is Ratchet. Hi, we are totally normal people that have souls, and we are normal. By the way, you're like several feet taller than me, but I'm staring at your stomach because this game was made in 10 months. I know that this game was made in 10 months, but that doesn't forgive it. Okay, I hope this isn't. I wouldn't consider this a gross out analogy. If you guys do, I'm sorry. It's gonna involve raw food or undercooked food. So, but if I only have like 5 minutes to cook food before I have to leave, and I have 5 minutes to make you breakfast, and I like cook you like bacon or something, and it's raw, or like is undercooked, you can't. Like, it wouldn't be valid for me to say, I only had 5 minutes. I'm sorry that you ate undercooked food. That doesn't forgive it. It just means that I should have started sooner, or that I should have accommodated that somehow. And that's what should have happened. Like, the delay for the movie coming out of nowhere screwed them over. So this is also on Sony's fault. But it doesn't forgive the fact that we still... Oh yeah, I meant to say the third type of cutscene is the ones that aren't movie scenes, but they're actually still animated. I believe where they meet the plumber,
Well, they're saying animated, but like they didn't really move that much.
There's some that are like that. Like, for example, when they meet the plumber, the one of the brain-eating zombie T-Rex, the I've died and gone to nerd heaven. Again, this game
But
in like a
99% of
vacuum,
it is just like Ratchet and Clank staring at each other.
this game is like serviceable, but as a Ratchet and Clank game, it's it's not good.
There's so much
It's F. Honestly, yeah, we should make a Ratchet like I think I'd
Can we
honestly
just like
rather
have a
play something like Full Frontal Assault over this because at least Full Frontal Assault like
I'd
as
put
bad.
this in its own tier. That's how I feel.
Honestly, if you guys think it should go in its own tier, I have no problem with putting it in its own tier. I have no problem whatsoever.
I think that's like a thing that people would agree to.
This is my least favorite Ratchet Clank game. If we want to talk about objectiveness, like it's like
Ratchet
D or C.
PS4.
Hi, Mikey. But like if we're like being like it's like again in a vacuum, it's perfectly fine. You know, if you have a kid, you know, and you had bought him a PS4 and you need a cheap game, yeah, this'll be fine. You know, you're just not gonna. The kid might start becoming a chatterbox and saying unfunny lines, but you know, it's a child. You know, but like if
Might
you
just
want,
start stealing jokes from Clank. Well,
I guess this game's
jokes.
graphics are good, but like
That's all it is. It's just a remake with like better graphics, and that's it, really. I guess.
yeah.
Why is Doctor Nefarious even here? Why was he even in the game?
This game like this is like in a way it's the definitive remake in the sense that I think remakes nowadays aren't really executed well, and even when they try and stay faithful to the originals like Resident Evil 4 remake, they just don't feel right regardless of whether they're good or not.
You
Not,
play Rack PS4 was the whole reason I bought a PS. I feel sad for you.
I never bought a PS4 and I don't feel like I'm missing it. This is also the definitive PS4 game. This is I think Ratchet PS4 is a great representation of how the PS4 isn't it's not technically a remake, but it uses the same title, it uses the same they were clearly trying to do something with it.
Yeah, it's just cool having an interview in the game. Yeah.
This game is just so like again, like it really sucks. Oh, also we have a Deadlock song coming on. Like that's really I love this song from Deadlock. It might be hard to hear. It's the one that plays when you climb the tower power. But yeah, this game like is the definitive PS4 game. I feel it's very definitive of how the PlayStation 4 is perfectly fine as a console, but when you compare to what came before, it's like what happened? What happened to you? What happened to you, Sony? The PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 were really great. And similarly, the Ratchet and Clank games were really great, but this...
Yeah, this sucks.
Okay, I don't want to turn this into just dunking on Rack PS4. Like, we already have an 80-minute video that does that way better than I could. Let's move on. By the way, I want to preface, the only games I genuinely think are bad are in D tier. Even if I put a game in C tier, I don't think it's bad. It might just have a lot of things that bring it down for me.
Okay.
Into the Nexus.
Okay.
This game is also really weird. There is a very old tweet by Insomniac Games from 2013 where they say that this game was made for the fans.
I think it's very nice, like what it is.
Everyone says this game is short, and there's a reason for it. It's this game. This should have been a PS4 game. Yeah, it's like Into the Nexus. Okay, I know I've said the word aesthetics and vibes like many times. It's just that I've really grown to appreciate that in video games. especially since, again, I've been playing horror games and I really learned what a good atmosphere and graphical style can do. The general atmosphere of Into the Nexus is pretty good. You know, dark atmospheres are honestly pretty decent in Ratchet and Clank. They're not always fitting, but every now and then we get a game that has a darker atmosphere. And I think they're overall executed decently to great. This game has a lot of bloom, and in that sense, it kind of looks bad. If you remove the bloom, though, this game would be a real good looker of the PlayStation 3. Really show how far we've come.
It was Bloom. I didn't even notice it.
Bloom, Bloom.
I'm pretty sure you can turn it off in the settings.
I wouldn't know. Let's see. The story, like, the best way to describe the story is this video review I found a while, like, it's like a decade old now, from a channel called Super Butterbuns.
Like a cool concept, but they didn't perform too bad. I mean, they have some uses, but
I actually want to show
like,
you guys one thing about Into the Nexus. What comes when you that it does well? I think the atmosphere is done well. The idea of killing off Kronk and Zephyr was a bold move. The weapons are pretty good from what I remember and actually are somewhat unique. Let's see. I do think Planet Yarrick, which is the first main level of the game, is pretty good. The others are undercooked.
That Into the Nexus does a few things better than other games. Like, it has a few things from, like, the future series.
Okay, wait. I'm going to turn off my screen share because I'm going to play a song from Into the Nexus, and I want you guys to just guess where this is from because Sin showed this to me a while back. It is like this game's OST actually does have a couple highlights. And let's see. This game does have some decent songs. Like, for example, there's a boss on Planet Yarrick. It has this cool, like, electronic sounding music that's like boom, 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 boom. I don't remember how the whole thing goes. The main theme is honestly pretty cool considering it's orchestral. Let me see if I can. Okay, wait. Let me make sure this doesn't leak through my mic. So I can't hear you guys right now. Give me a second. Okay. I think it's gonna leak through my mic, so I'm gonna quickly deafen in the VC. But yeah, I want you guys to just guess where this plays. This is a top tier soundtrack. You guys are gonna have to like listen to my stream if you want to hear this. I just, I don't want to risk like any weird audio issues. Okay. I'm gonna make sure this is audible. I hope this is audible. That's loud as shit. I'm so sorry. I don't know how well you guys can hear it. We can't hear it. That's awesome. I'm a moron. Okay, wait. I don't want to risk accidentally sharing where it's from. I'm gonna have it play through my mic on my phone because again I don't want to turn on the screen share and have you guys figure out where it's from because again you guys are never gonna guess what this plays in. Okay, cool. My mic's not picking it up. That's awesome. I'm a. The area. There's. Oh wait, audio capture. Okay, wait. Okay. Okay, wait. I couldn't find the specific. You know what? I'm just gonna fucking like share with you guys. It plays during the holodeck training. When you go into the vendor, you can press like square to test out a weapon, which is something they brought back from Ouya up your arsenal. And again, I'm gonna shut up just so you guys can hear it. That shit only plays in the freaking holodeck that most people don't know existed. And that's like one of the best songs like ever. Like, dude, that song bangs. Is this track ever played during a speedrun? Maybe with weapon smuggling, you might hear it for like a few seconds, but otherwise, like, no. As far as I'm aware, no. But yeah, yeah, it's a great track and it only plays there. Like, I would have definitely liked to have more songs like this. Into the Nexus still has like the more like dramatic songs that people aren't a fan of. Okay, I just saw that Joaf posted in the Ouya channel. That'll be fun.
Oh, anyway, I'm gonna go to bed.
All right. Have fun.
Gee.
Good night. I just realized the Ouya, the Starship Phoenix is playing again for some reason. Let's I'm gonna skip ahead to a different song. Oh, this is a good song.
Oh, yeah. I'm good myself because I'm watching something.
All right.
Netflix.
You're welcome to chill in here, Stilo. Anyways. This song is a banger, by the way. I don't know how well you guys can hear it. Again, I have it quiet because I don't want it to overpower my voice much. But yeah, Into the Nexus is a really weird game. Oh wait, I forgot to put it in this. Into the Nexus is really strange. It's not bad, but it doesn't achieve much because of its length. Similar to Quest for Booty, it's overall... So the way I said booty in that sentence is... God, saying that... I can't take myself seriously saying that word. I think this should go in B tier. It's, again, it's not offensive. It's just kind of... I don't know. So far, I don't think I've had any majorly hot takes. Like, nothing that people would completely disagree with. Just, like, yeah, you'll... Like, I don't think people are gonna agree with this so far, but not, like, to a point that's like, whoa. Also, this game goes for, like, $40 to $60 now, so... But yeah, I meant to say... I have to deal... That's okay, Roxas, don't worry. Sorry I can't get to the chat, I'm just, you know... The reason, by the way, I mentioned that tweet from Insomniac that's like, we made this for the fans, is like, they clearly saw the reception to All for One and Full Frontal Assault. The hot take is that Ratchet PS4 isn't F. It is F. I just renamed F to Ratchet PS4 because I think that's the only game I'm going to put there, honestly. I fucking hate Ratchet PS4. Fuck that shit. That's the only video game that I would genuinely consider soulless. Maybe besides Full Frontal Assault, but like, I know I haven't played that many games in the grand scheme of things, but I don't like calling games soulless. Ratchet PS4 is soulless, though. It is a disgrace to the medium of video games as art. But anyway, so yeah, Ratchet PS4 is F tier. Like, F tier is renamed specific because, like, that's how bad this game sucks. I fucking hate it. Anyways. But yeah, so Insomniac knew of the bad reception, or the mixed reception of Full Frontal Assault on All for One, so they made a more traditional Ratchet game. But again, like, developing a PS3 game in, like, 1 year wasn't ever gonna work. But I think this game is still pretty decent. I wouldn't mind... Oh, also, this is a small gripe. It doesn't run at a stable 30 FPS. The game's frame rate does tank a lot.
Nexus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the fact that it runs at 30 FPS.
Yeah, it targets 30 FPS. It doesn't hit it. Like, dude, like... We had overall better looking games that ran at 60, but Nexus can't even hit 30. Like... Next game!
They frame perfect are easier in Nexus.
Alright. Oh, it's gonna be close. Tools of Destruction. All right. Bean, I'm missing 2 on the list. I've never completed Full Frontal Assault and Secret Agent Clank. I've played them both, but I don't think it's right to rank them if I haven't beaten them. And if you want my quick thoughts on them, I don't care to play Full Frontal Assault. And SAC is fine. I think it was a breath of fresh air, but it overstays its welcome. I actually did play before the Nexus, but whatever. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts on those. Okay. I don't really like this song that's playing right now, so I'm going to quickly change it. Let me... Where were we? We were on...
What the fuck? Oh, Serge,
What?
you were saying that like somehow Eon lost his jacket.
Yes.
I think one of the villagers is wearing it.
So for any of you guys who don't know, Eli's been playing Resident Evil 4 recently, and he found out what canonically happens to Leon's jacket in the game. Anyways, let me skip to a set of like, where do I think there's gonna be multiple songs that I like? Okay, this is good. This is a good start. Okay, Tools is alright, not amazing, not awful. Shriek B. I've not played the mobile. I've not played Going Mobile and Clone Home. I don't think I will though. I don't have much of a intent to. Anyways, Tools of Destruction. I think okay. In the early 2010s and the 2000s, Deadlocked was seen as the black sheep of the franchise, like a stain on an overall great series. I think these days, though, the title has gone closer to Tools of Destruction. Not in the same way, but I think people just find it underwhelming now. When they talk about their favorites, it's so rare to see somebody that says Todd. They'll usually say one of the PlayStation 2 games or A Crack in Time. I really like this game. I really like Tools of Destruction. I think it is one of the definitive PS3 games. Like, I'll start with the positives. The very first level is one of the best opening levels in a platformer ever. You get an amazing shot of this planet you've seen several times before, with a really nice orchestral soundtrack to go along with it. And when you start moving around, you notice something. Ratchet controls silky smooth like butter. It is so clean. Moving the camera around, moving Ratchet around, jumping. Like, yes, technically they brought back the rigid side flips and back flips where if you're moving the stick in a direction and you press X, he's locked into a flip. They took those out of Deadlocked, but they put them back in Todd. But otherwise, also the fact this game runs at a very stable 60 FPS. There are frame drops, but they're hard to notice. Bean, when am I going to play Todd? I've played Todd, hence why I'm ranking it. If you mean speedrun, I could be open to it, but I'm not going to run Ratchet for a while. I want to stick to horror games. Tools of Destruction is really great. Cobalia is a bit of a less than stellar level, but it's still decent. Planet Kortog is really good. Planet Moocow is pretty fun. Levels like Igliak and Visceron, I think it's really fun. It was the last game with a fully new arsenal. You might be right about that. They hit hard. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment, Roxas. Don't worry. We need the Bean comeback. I need a break from PlayStation platformers, Jedi Clank, but I promise I'll be back. The only PlayStation platformer you'll see me run for a while is Crash Bandicoot. But other than that, I'm going to stick to some mature games and maybe like Lego games and yeah. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about my speed plans. But yeah.
By the fucking guy.
Tools of Destruction does have some fun weapons like the Alpha Disruptor, the Magnet Launcher, the Shock Ravager. Hell, even the Combustor, at least for the first few levels, doesn't feel terrible. I know everyone hates the Combustor. I think the armor designs, except the Black Star armor, are pretty cool. I like the Helios armor, or the Piss suit, as Torp calls it. I like the, I think it's called Terraflux, which is the green armor. Something that most people don't praise about this game is the OST. I really like the OST for Tools of Destruction. Like, yes, there are some... This is where the OST starts to get a little less memorable. but I still think it has a really strong OST. Some of the highlights are, of course, the music on Kirwan, but I also like the music on Kortog, especially when you're in the I think it's the docks. I don't really know what exactly it's supposed to be. I think it's the docks. It sounds like something from the PS2 games because it was composed by the same composer. I like the music for Planet wait. The music for Planet Visceron. If you guys have played before the Nexus, I'm gonna mute myself so you guys can hear it as bang.
Is a banger. Everyone who says always doesn't have probably likes Ace as their favorite.
You're welcome, chat. You're welcome for blessing your ears. You might not have even known that's what the whole song sounded like, because I don't think a lot of people like pay attention to Todd's OST. That's just one of the highlights. If you guys want more highlights, pretty much any of the songs that play on Planet Moo Cow, such as the I think it's called the I don't know what it's called. It's that little tube thing that you go in with the saw blades. Let's see. I like the song from Igliak. I like the song from trying to think. I think the one when you're on Planet Repor and you're by yourself without Clank, that's pretty good. Again, like obviously like there are less memorable songs compared to the original quadrilogy, but Tools of Destruction soundtrack shouldn't be slept on. Like I see people be like, "Oh yeah, the soundtrack fell off in the PS3 games," and it's like, don't diss my boy Tools of Destruction, man. This game right here. Also, can we just appreciate Tools of Destruction's box art? The first game on the PS3, and they're like, how do we introduce people to our series? Well, what are they going to be seeing for like 90% of the game? Put that on the cover. Put a nice, beautiful shot of Metropolis. Boom. You have your box art.
And then Clink.
The promo art for this game is really good. The gameplay is pretty solid, even if it can be bullshit at times. Because even with armor, enemies like hit really hard and you can die in like only a couple hits.
Yeah, like Todd actually has a proper challenge mode.
Yeah, this game is pretty difficult. There's also some pretty decent platforming sections, like the grind rail on Visceron. That's pretty neat. I'm trying to think of other stuff. There again, like some cracks do fall through. A lot of the extras aren't fully utilized to their full potential, but I think the variety in mini games and stuff, like the pirate mini game and the gelatonium stuff, I do still think that's at least better than Up Your Arsenal's mini games and alternative
Oh.
styles of play.
I got the yellow herb in separate ways.
Congrats, you got a yellow herb. Those are fun. But yeah, now we'll talk about the negatives. Is there really much to say? We all know the negatives of Todd. We know the story sucks. Honestly, Ratchet being the last Lombax isn't...
Stories in Ratchet games never been a strong suit.
Yeah, but they were at least respectable and believable. Ratchet being the last Lombax isn't the worst thing ever in this game. I can forgive it because it's like, I can tell they wanted to do something with these characters and evolve them after Deadlocked had a nice conclusion to Ratchet's arc, and they needed to try something new. They even bring back Ratchet being an asshole to Clank to show that, yes, even if you two are friends and put aside your differences, you may still have some arguments with each other. It's not going to be all puppies and rainbows. You are still going to have disagreements. This game graphically is gorgeous. I forgot to mention that. Kerwan, Igliak, Viscera, like all the same cities. Every level looks beautiful. There is a bit of shine to them that makes it look a little oily at times, and character models don't look good. Well, some of them. But overall, like the environments, which is what most people are going to focus on, are really great in Todd. This game has a lot to praise, and it's really underrated in my opinion. And of course, the whole last Lombax thing, and then forgetting Angela. It's not this game that cements Angela as, oh fuck, we fucked up. Because, you know, she doesn't have a tail. They could have said that, like, Ratchet didn't know she was a Lombax. But we'll get to it when we get to a crack in time. But I can't hate this game's story that much. Like, it is bad in hindsight, but I forgive it. They were trying something new. And hindsight wasn't kind to this game. But for the time, they honestly did a really great job. I think this game deserves A tier. I think this game is really good. This is my favorite of the PS3 Ratchet games. Let me...
Then people are like, why not ace it?
Alright. I don't know what you just said, but we'll get to Ace It when we get to Ace It. Okay.
Yeah, but then people are like, why is ace it not your favorite?
We'll get to it when it matters. Speaking of things that matter, size matters.
Yeah. I feel like the price matters.
This game is...
Something.
This is a game about F. I'm not putting it in the same tier as Ratchet PS4 because it has a couple things that are better than Ratchet PS4. This game is... Like, when you're on Pokitaru, you're like, wow, this plays like the previous games, and, you know, pressing L and R to move the camera isn't terrible. This is pretty good. The PSP game. Then you get to Rylus, and all of a sudden it takes like 10 lacerator shots to kill a basic enemy, and you have an absolutely god-awful Clank section. And it's like, what the hell? But then you get to Caledon, and it's like, Caledon, the music for Caledon, I swear, I'm not trying to turn this into like glazing the music, but so I'm not going to like play the Caledon music. I'll save you guys some surprises if you haven't truly appreciated David Brigade's music. But Caledon's soundtracks for both the main level and the Skyboard races are really good. And I think the game also has pretty great like graphics. It has a like... I don't mean to praise the graphics so much. Graphics aren't everything. But considering this is a platformer game, it's supposed to be cartoony and colorful and make you feel like you're in space, I think Size Matters does a decent job. Day 9 Moon's another great level in that regard. Although Day 9 Moon is also home to one of the worst bosses ever. Like, yeah, Auto Destruct sucks shit, but you can learn at least his patterns. And the game automatically refills your ammo when you go to his arena. You don't have to buy it from the vendor. I don't know why they put a vendor there. Luna, however, has a fucking auto-scroller that's not fun. The story... Dude, the story for this... here's a little anecdote. I've told this story a few times on stream now, but the voice actress for Luna, I actually got to meet her in person, and she did not remember voicing Luna. So I had to sit there, like, this woman who's probably, you know, like, being a popular voice actress at an event has to be a little bit exhausting, with fans being like, oh my god, I loved your work in this, and saying the same things over and over, and they have to, you know, they're obviously grateful for it, but it can be tiring to hear that same thing over a lot, probably. And, you know, maybe you're scared that you'll run as like a weird fan or something. You know, being a voice actor / voice actress that is popular and has done a lot of roles can be a bit stressful, basically. So I had to explain to this woman, who I don't know how she was doing, that in 2007, well, the work was probably done in 2006, she voiced a little girl who is not actually a little girl. She's evil, and we later find out she has a giant door in the back of her head, and these little creatures control her. She's like a robot mech thing, and I had to say it with like a straight face to her. Yeah, this game's story is unremarkable. Who gives a shit about the story? Did she believe you? She did. I think she even wrote down a note to make like a note of it. Size matters is like, when I honestly have a lot of thoughts of replaying Size Matters, because the OST is honestly pretty good and the worlds look really good. Chalix is another great OST. Medical Outpost Omega has some good stuff. I don't want to put this game in D tier, but it really deserves it. But at the same time, like, one of the games in D tier, that might be the only game that I put in D tier. Ooh, this song that's playing, by the way, this is from Ratchet 2. You don't get to ever hear the full thing because it's during a glider section, and the glider section ends before the song plays in full, and you can't really stall. I'll play the whole thing later, but yeah. Yeah, again, I'm not trying to turn this into like the Ratchet music is so good. It's just, it really is that good. So yeah, Size Matters is in C tier for now. We might change it later. I don't hate this game like many do, but I do dunk on it a lot because it kind of deserves it. Just because it's not just because it's on the PSP. Holy shit, I can't speak. Doesn't mean it has an excuse to have all these problems. God of War Ghost of Sparta is one of my favorite God of War games, and that's on the PSP. Nautical Menace, my Discord @ is the same as my Twitch @ DM it to me. I actually want to see this. Oh yeah, the armor system, by the way. The armor system's really great, even if almost literally every single suit of armor, at least in a new game, besides the wildfire armor, you have to earn through playing bad minigames, which sucks shit. But still, it's a very good idea. That's praiseworthy.
And also the fact that you have to play the game through the game 3 times.
Yeah, that too. Gadget Ball. I actually like the Gadget Ball Lemmings. I don't even mind the Clank arenas that much. Like, the basketball minigame's fine, and the Lemmings game is fine. The others, yeah, I'm not gonna defend them. I also gotta shout out my my babe, the Dual Lacerators. I think the Dual Lacerators are really cool. And they're pretty reliable overall. Again, I feel like I'd be more likely to replay this game, Size Matters, than, say, either of the ones in B tier. But that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's better. I think if you want a better Ratchet & Clank experience that lasts like 3 hours, just play one of the B tier games. Yeah, the weapons fucking suck overall. I don't even hate auto-destruct that much because I have learned how to dodge his attacks. Funny enough, one of his attacks requires use of the crouch mechanic, which is something that that's like never seen otherwise. Oh, the freaking titanium bolt locate. Literally,
Yeah, SM bolt location.
there are like 3 titanium bolts that you just get by going behind your ship, and boom, there's the bolt. Others are just really easy to find. Just watch an all titanium bolt speedrun. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go on. Oh, and also the grind rails being turned into the hacking minigame. That's a good idea. Anyways, next game. Okay, we have like one super hated game and a bunch of really liked games. Rift Apart. This is the one you've been waiting for.
Rift Apart. Rift me a new fart.
So I have to mention my history with this game. At first, back when I was like in high school, this was when it was announced, I was hyped as shit like everyone else. And when the game came out, it looked really fun and good. But then after some time had passed and I had, played like a lot of platformers and games in general, I started to think Rift Apart didn't look like a fun game that I want to play. And I kind of dunked on it unfairly without actually trying it out. It was also the fact that it came out at a low time in my life, so it also just made me feel better to dunk on it. But a few days ago, I thought, this might be my last Ratchet & Clank game, because I do know the story and the writing, and I do know that I'm not a fan of it. I did know it prior to that. And also, this might be many people's last Ratchet & Clank game, with Sony phasing out discs. And people not wanting to buy the PS6. This game...
And you think them getting rid of this, it would like put it into something meaningful. No, it's gonna be AI.
Yep. This game... Out of all the non-meme games, I feel like non-memes being stuff like Size Matters, PS4, hell, even in a sense Quest for Booty, this is probably my least favorite of them. But, you know what? Okay, do you guys want me to start with the negatives or the positives? Because again, I bought this a few days ago. I purchased the game a few days ago because I wanted to give it a fair chance and finally say, like, you know what? Let's get it over. Let's go with the negatives. Okay, we'll start with the negatives.
Yeah, Tron City.
Deep down, a part of me almost wants to put this in like C or D tier, but I know that's really overboard. And the reason for this, the thing that really sets it. First, I'm going to start with my biggest gripe with the game. And it's something that's so minor, but it really just represents, like, it's so bad. So I mentioned earlier during my Resident Evil runs that there is one thing that Rift Apart does worse than PS4 in my opinion, and that's the chatter. It's even more of a Yapatron simulator. Like, I remember playing Resident Evil 4 Remake and God of War 2018. I almost said PS4, but I played it on PCs. God of War 2018, and I thought, like, wow, these games have way too much talking. This is Rack PS4 syndrome. Then I played Rift Apart, and it was even worse in that regard.
Probably 1/3 of the game is just dialogue.
Yeah. But it's like, okay, well, they didn't learn. It got worse, Nautical. So, the reason why, the thing that really pushed me the edge, I was thinking, like, I said it in a Discord server last night, that this game doesn't respect the player, and the reason why, we already know that in Ratchet PS4, if you're not doing the objective, the game's gonna nag on you. But this game also has the audacity to tell you off if you take damage. If you take damage, Clank will sometimes say, like, you should try to avoid taking damage. He'll say stuff like that. And that really infuriates me deep down. That is genuinely one of the most disrespectful things I've seen in a video game. I was playing this on the 4th hardest difficulty. I think it's called Renegade. It's like, dude, this game is hard. I'm taking damage. Well, it's a little challenging. Why are you saying these things to me? Why are you doing this? That's just outright disrespectful. Why? Ranking some Ratchet? Yep. You know it, Brando. Because Rift Apart might be my final Ratchet and Clank game, so, you know, I figured. A 40-second time save. Okay, I'm gonna check this out later. A 40-second time save for Ouya. I'll check it out later. I want to focus on this. I saw your edit. I pinned it. But yeah. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the chatter isn't as much as Ratchet PS4. It's been a while, but it feels worse. It might also be because my recent points of reference are Resident Evil 4 Remake and God of War PS4. But the fact that the game tells you to not take damage really just shows it straight up feels like they don't respect me or anyone as the player to actually try and attempt the game. And that's really unfortunate. I think the writing is a little bit of a step up from Ratchet PS4, but I don't think that's a high bar. Everyone said it before. They constantly say thank you and I'm sorry. There are some good plot setups, like, for example, what if Ratchet had met Clank, but he wasn't an asshole? Well, we get that with Ratchet and Kit. And while it's a bit corny of writing, I don't think it's terribly done. There are some lines of dialogue that come off weird, like when Clank says, "I'm not broken, I'm still Clank." I don't know, it just feels really corny. When I say that the writing feels childish, it's like, it's so weird to say that, because this entire game series is for kids, and I play a lot of kids' games too, you know? I play Sly Cooper, I play Lego Star Wars, SpongeBob BFBB, Spyro, Crash, you know, those are all games for kids. But it also feels like they can still be enjoyed as an adult, and Rift Apart feels like it's bordering on not that. Let's see. I'm gonna keep going on the same arm. Yeah, it's the left arm if I remember correctly. That's a neat little callback. Let's see.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, the overall story is still really bad. Like, I know the focus. What is it, Eli?
I will just say how to shoot.
Yes, I know. I saw it, Eli. It's just I don't want to check it out right now. I want to focus on this. I'm excited to see it though. We'll check it out together on stream chat, okay? Once this tier list is done. But yeah, again, I know it's a big nitpick. It's just I'm nitpicking because I care. And also because I just genuinely think it's really disrespectful to tell the player not to get hit. It's like telling somebody who's really mad to calm down. Not a good idea.
Or have severe ADHD and already forget it like 5 seconds later.
Yeah. Also, the plot setup is really bad. The plot is set up because Clank was a moron, and he gave Ratchet an incredibly dangerous weapon when he was being chased by, like, every enemy ever. It's like if I had a thing with nuclear launch codes, and Adolf Hitler sent a bunch of minions towards me, a bunch of his dudes towards me. I don't know why I said it like that. And I just said, hey, Eli, you and I have a really close friendship. We've known each other for so many years. Here's the nuclear launch codes. And, like, Hitler was, like, right outside the room we're in. Now, I know you're thinking, that's an insane analogy. I wanted to have some shock humor, because I don't want to just come off as, like, a Grinch. Obviously, maybe that wasn't the best analogy, but again, like, I don't really have a good analogy otherwise. Clank gives Ratchet the Dimensionator, and he leaves it right out in the open, and Dr. Nefarious takes it, and that's where the plot begins, because Clank, the smart robot who said, hey, we shouldn't use the Great Clock or the Dimensionator, because the universe could be destroyed, rebuilds the Dimensionator for Dr. Nefarious to ruin the universe with. What else? Okay. Another negative with this game. This game is really, really unstable. Speedrunners will know that the game soft locks a lot. But even in a casual playthrough, the analogy of all time... No, Ratchet Runner! Come on! I made the gross out analogy earlier. Come on, this isn't my worst analogy. So, this game, by the way, I think it took me 8 to 9 hours to beat. What song? Oh, it's the song on the Medical Outpost Omega. This game, throughout my 8 to 9 hour playthrough, I could probably check on the file select, but I'm not going to boot up my PC right now just to check it. This game soft blocked 3 times, requiring a checkpoint restart. This game also...
That's bad on PC.
Yes. Here's the thing. I'll get to that in a moment. I'll acknowledge that it's worse on PC. This game also crashed 3 times on me. One of those times, when I rebooted it, the audio was messed up, and the only way to fix it was with a PC restart. At least, well, it could have been a PC restart. Technically, when I got that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed for today, and I'll finish this tomorrow. And I booted it up, and the audio was fixed, so, you know. Also, I don't like that there's sections of the game where it takes away your hover boots and weapons, like when you're in Xerxes, or when you're in that nightclub in the Cyberpunk city. Why is there a walking section in a Ratchet & Clank game? Why? If I alt-tab during start. There was also screen tear on the credits scene and the startup where it says Sony Computer Entertainment. I'm not going to care that much about it, but you know. But yeah, this game is really unstable. And... okay. I'm going to say something incredibly profound. You know we're getting serious when I pause the music. The reason why I'm more judgmental towards Rift Apart's PC port and not the ports of the OG4. Like, by this logic, Ratchet, Deadlocked, and Ouya and the first 2 games, they should all be like in freaking D tier, right? Because their ports are bad. The difference is, from the moment the bad PS3 releases came out, I'm going to put the music back on because it feels too empty without it. From the moment the PS3 releases came out, if you played them and you thought, these versions suck, I want to play a better version, you know what you could do? Go on eBay, buy a PlayStation 2, and some copies of this, or emulate them, is something you can do now, and you spend like less than $100 probably. If you really wanted to go vanilla, you'd maybe spend $100. You know, buy a PS2 with a couple of games, which are life-changing, probably. You know, probably include, like, God of War, Jak and Daxter, you know. And a couple controllers. You pay, like, $100 for that, plus some games. It's cheap to play the good versions of Ratchet & Clank. You don't even need a CRT. Because these games, honestly, still look good, even on an HD display. On PS2. So from the moment, and especially in 2012, that shit must have been, like, cheap. People probably would have paid you to take their PS2s off of them. You know what you do, though, in 2023 to 2026, if you played the PC port of Rift Apart and you think, wow, this runs like shit, how about I play the OG version? You go on eBay, and you spend hundreds of dollars on a PS5, and then $20 on a copy of Rift Apart. I have found copies of Rift Apart for like $20 to $25. And if you already had a PS5 and you're unlucky to only have a digital edition, Sony thinks that you should spend $70 on the game. So the reason why I'm more critical of the PC port, why I'm taking it into account and not for the PS2 games, is because your alternatives for playing Rift Apart are way too expensive, whereas your alternative is for playing the original 4 games are cheap. Also, buying a PS5 with like 3 games, it's been out for 6 years. 1,000. To be fair, T-Dex, Ratchet Runner is rich. He's rich as hell, dude. He has like a freaking Ferrari. Now, I will go on to the positives. Again, I think otherwise there are some decent plot setups. I still think, though, the plot feels like a nothing burger, because by the end, Ratchet is like, let's go to the Lombax dimension, and it's like, weren't there like 3 games about how Ratchet doesn't want to go to the Lombax dimension? And I know the focus of the plot was Rivet and Kit as well, and how they interact with Ratchet and Clank. The plot is really... it's really confusing. I don't know how I feel about the plot. I definitely don't like it. I don't think it's good. But I don't think it's terrible.
What the fuck?
He could change his mind. True. It's just, it feels so fake that he wants to go to the dimension when Tools of Destruction, A Crack in Time, and Nexus all have him say, like, I can accept not seeing them. This is what makes me feel straight up embarrassed sometimes to talk about the Ratchet and Clank plots. I feel so weird saying, like, yeah, Ratchet wants to see the Lombax. It's like, I'm not going to care about the plot of the next Ratchet game for sure. I'm not even going to, like, look up anything about it.
What are you selling?
And again, the dialogue is really disingenuous. I know they're trying to show that Ratchet and Clank have grown, but it still feels really fake and phony. It feels like somebody described the Spider-Man games as like, it's like HR is overhearing everything they say, and that applies to Rift Apart. Anyways, I know I said I'd go to the positives. It's just the plot is, I think the general plot setups, besides Clank with the Dimensionator, are decent, Seeing what Ratchet and Clank would have been like if it wasn't for that first adventure. I think overall the animations are pretty good. I think the graphics are better than I originally gave them for, like the art style and aesthetics. I didn't give enough praise to them. I was honestly being a little bit harsh on them, but I think they're better than I gave them for. I don't like Ratchet's model though. I feel like he looks like a Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic. And I'm not a fan of Clank having the little, like, hexagons in his eyes. There are a couple of jokes that I liked in the game. I like the joke where Ratchet gets in the ship and he reads the password, where he reads it out really fast. He's like, how about I obliterate you instead? Ha ha ha. And then the ship just instantly blasts him off. That shit is peak comedic timing. I also like when Emperor Nefarious is like, I conquered this dimension, and he all of a sudden just has a dance party ready. It's like, again, it's so sudden and unexpected. It reminds me of that scene in Up Your Arsenal where they're filming Secret Agent Clank, and Ratchet presses the button, and Clank gets ejected. That's just comedy peak. It's so stupid and wacky, and I love it. The game is honestly really fun to play. I really like the movement with the little, like, phantom dash. I think it does make some of the combat scenarios better. I think the platforming is really good. I like the pocket dimensions. I like the speedles. I don't know how people feel about the speedles, but I really like those. I think these are my favorite Clank puzzles. Admittedly, though, I kind of skipped the last two because one of them I gave up on, and then the other, they were talking a lot, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just can't. The glitch puzzles were decent, but again, I skipped the third one because it was starting to just, like, be a little, the RA jokes didn't land. Yeah, most of them still don't land. There's, like, a joke where Clank swears, and it's like, I feel like they draw it out, so it's not that funny. Okay, I'm so sorry to harp on the plot, but another thing that I forgot to acknowledge, there's a few lines of dialogue where the characters acknowledge how much they talk. Like, I know Rivet says, like, I stopped listening to the French version of Rusty Pete. And then later on, Rivet's describing the plot. She's like, your Dr. Nefarious used the Dimensionator to bring you here with your friend who is... She's describing the plot in a way that shows she doesn't take it seriously. And that just tells me even the writers acknowledge that the plot is just cooked forever. And I don't really like that. The plot is so cooked, and I don't think them acknowledging it makes it better. It makes it worse, if anything, because they realize that their writing is cooked, and they're not going to try. One thing I have to say, by the way, I usually don't like to talk, like, I've been trying to talk less about politics and, like, social issues, but I just need to get this out of the way, because Rift Apart has been subject to a lot of culture war stuff. I'm going to keep this very brief, I promise. I'm going to talk for no more than a minute. So, I'm literally checking my recording time. I'm going to make sure that I don't talk about this for any more than, like, a minute to a minute and a half. I just need to get this out of the way. This game has been subject to a lot of culture war stuff, saying that the writing is bad because they're hiring minorities and everything's woke now. And apart from those people just not being people I respect and insufferable, it's also the fact that, no, the writing in this game isn't bad because they hired minorities. onto the team. The writing is bad because it was written badly. Stop with that, like, anti-woke stuff. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible, like, seeing that. People are like, oh, the writing's woke. It's like, stop. Like, dude, I hate the writing as much as you do, but you hate it for the wrong reason. You're a loser. Nobody likes you. I heard somebody call it a propaganda machine, and I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here with that crap. And my way to back up that it isn't because they have a more diverse team. I see a lot of people on Twitter who are of a minority who do agree that the writing in this game is bad. So it's just that it's just a coincidence, really. God of War 3 was... Really? Okay, I have to check on that. God of War 3 is a really great game. God of War 3 is so fucking awesome. Anyways. I'll do a tier list of God of War games when I play God of War Ascension. But yeah, that's my little rant. I will say it does look bad that at the time that game writing is starting to go down a cliff is also when game devs are trying to have more diverse teams. But that's just a coincidence. Stop saying this anti-woke stuff. You're a loser. And you're diverging attention from what actually matters. And yeah, I saw that in an article. Anyways, rant over. I know that was actually 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I broke my promise. I'll punish myself with Resident Evil Run, and I will throw one on the dog.
What do you mean punishing? I feel like you wanna do it.
I said I'll throw a run on the dogs. I didn't finish my sentence. That was my bad. But yeah, Rift Apart, 1 gift sub? No. No. I'm not... Look, man. I just bought a Mirror's Edge promo thing earlier today for $20. I'm literally not gonna be like... No, please, Titus. Okay. Rift Apart is really fun, and I'd honestly be more down to replay it over, say, A Crack in Time. I'm kind of spoiling a little bit, but I think A Crack in Time is the better game. High B tier? I think I can accept that, Ratchet Runner. The gameplay is really fun, but the other stuff brings it down so much. This game actually did make me contemplate if I would be down to play the next Ratchet game. But considering there's not going to be discs for PlayStation 6, I don't really have much of a choice. I won't be playing the next Ratchet game, and I think many people could say the same. I feel very neutral on Rift Apart. Like, you might hear me dunk on it and be an asshole about it now. You might hear me say that it's not a game that I respect because it doesn't respect me. But overall, I think it's just... I think Rift Apart is just fine. It's just stuck in its ways. The gameplay is fun, but like, what's the fun if like there's still not much of a memorable OST? The performance isn't that good, like with constant crashes and soft locks. And again, my alternative is buying a PS5, so
Yeah. Alternative is buying a PS5. Cute.
again, that's why I'm fine factoring in the PC port for Rift Apart, but not the PS3 versions for the OG4. I actually think I like Into the Nexus more than this, because I feel like people dunk on the Future series writing, and I do generally agree with them, but I think the Future series writing is still leagues above Rift Apart, and I do think they were trying, and it just didn't fully work out. They were trying something that they just couldn't fully hit the mark on. I actually do think I prefer Into the Nexus over Rift Apart, though. That's my first major hot take. I really want to love Into the Nexus. It's just, again, like, it doesn't give itself time to... If Into the Nexus was just a little bit longer, honestly, it doesn't even have to be that much longer. That shit would be, like, S tier. But I would rather play Into the Nexus because, for one, I think it has a more memorable weapon selection. I like its general aesthetics and vibes more. I think its writing is overall better. I honestly think Into the Nexus, with the death of Kronk and Zephyr, has a more bold attempt at a story than Rift Apart. I feel like I'd be more likely to replay Rift Apart than Into the Nexus, though. So take that how you will. Because again, Rift Apart's actually quite fun to play. I really love the rifts. I really love that you can just like use them to get to other parts of the map. I think that actually does add this cool, like... What's a game I could compare it to? I don't have a good game to compare it to. Like, I don't have a game in mind to compare it to. It honestly reminds me a little bit of Mirror's Edge if the gunplay was a focus. Mirror's Edge's gunplay is really bad, but I'm pretty sure that's intentional as to discourage the player from doing it. Rift Apart kind of feels like, what if Mirror's Edge did want the gunplay to be a part of the gameplay? I gotta shout out some of my, some of the weapons that carried me through the game. The Cold Snap, the Topiary Sprinkler, the Negatron Collider, the Warmonger, the, I forget what it's called, but the shotgun. I really like the shotgun.
Yeah, can we like shit on the Warmonger for being in like 5 games?
Yes, but it is pretty powerful. But yeah, why is it in so many games? Come on. Literally, Ninja did a guess the Ratchet and Clank weapon, and when the first hint was, this game has appeared in 5 games, I instantly knew it was the Warmonger. Also, thank you, T-Dex. But yeah, this is where I'd put Rift Apart. Quest for Booty and Into the Nexus are as high as they are because they aren't bad enough. They aren't enough to, Oh, I'm sorry, Nautical. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't give you the credit for saying it first. Into the Nexus and Quest for Booty are good in spite of it all. Rift Apart is worse in spite of its good aspects, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to say it. So yeah, that's my first major hot take. Oh, this song's a banger. Okay, so now we have 4 really beloved games and then freaking All for One. Next game.
Crack.
Oh! Oh yeah, the Rift Apart Rhino is cool. I know it kind of sucks to like use, like it's not powerful, but you know, it's, you know. Also, the fact that they brought in old armors. I played the entire game, Ratchet wearing the deadlocked armor, Rivet with the Carbonox. Anyways, Going Commando. Hey, Eli. Eli, what do you think of this game? You know, I think, Eli, I'm going to put this in Rack PS4T.
Damn.
Okay. I will be honest. Okay. I'm going to get the negatives out of the way with Going Commando because I want to gush on this game more than I want to dunk on it. I like this game more than I dislike it. I think in a lot of ways, Up Your Arsenal and Going Commando have enough strengths and weaknesses, but they're both really heavily flawed. I wouldn't give either of them a 10 out of 10. I don't know. I don't know if I'd put it in S. I feel a similar way about it as I do with Rift Apart. Not Rift Apart, sorry, Tools of Destruction. Oh my god. Where, I like Crack. I do too, kind of, but at the same... I kind of want to put Ouya in A tier, but it's like... I don't know. Ratchet 2, though, let me start with the negatives. So, because this is the first Ratchet and Clank game to take the form that we know the series today, it has a lot of problems. The weapon upgrade system makes it so that guns from the start suck ass halfway through the game, and I don't think that's a good design choice. It also some guns...
They don't suck.
Some guns are not fun to upgrade. Like, the mega turrets are terrible to upgrade. I remember, like, farming over and over and thinking, like, what were they thinking here? I also think, you get, like, almost no XP if you use the weapons in the arenas, which is just a terrible decision. This game
No,
doesn't.
actually, you get XP in arenas, but the longer the arena match is, the less XP you get.
Okay, so still not a good design choice though. I also think this game doesn't have any great bosses. Maybe one good one, but my favorite bosses in this game is Chainblade and the B2 Brawler. And when I say they're my favorite bosses, it's like saying I'd rather have $5 than $3. The bosses are really underwhelming. The story does kind of suck a little, but I don't really mind because I think they're able to make up with that with some really memorable and funny cutscenes. Mr. Fizzwidget is a funny guy. Like the cutscene where he ejects Ratchet and Clank is all pissed off, and he's like doing this, and Ratchet's laughing. I like that. It's charming. Both of the cutscenes where Ratchet gets a new wrench, I love them. I like that in one of them he breaks the fourth wall. He just looks at the player. It's so goofy. Let's see. I like what other cutscenes do I really like? I like Angela a lot. She's a fun character. Obviously, we know Snivelak has the worst boss in the history of the universe. But it at least has a good cutscene to go along with it. Where, you know, the thug leader does his evil laugh and Ratchet, like, fucking taunts him saying, like, what's so funny? And the thug leader's like, nothing, I guess. The cutscene where they advertise the Protopet and Billy is like, help, police. Yeah, Slim debuts in this one. The drug dealer on Tabora, the one that's like, oh. The drug dealer on Tabora is the origin, his cutscene is the origin of 2005. If you want to know where I got 2005 from, so I don't remember how I refound this let's play. The Snivelak boss keeps yapping. At least the music drowns it out. And speaking of the music, this game has a really great OST. Anyways, let me look for Teal Game Map. This right here! This thumbnail. I remember, I don't remember how I was like, how I found this, but I do remember seeing this thumbnail and I thought, this looks absolutely fucking terrible. It's even funnier with the PS3 version's like big helmet glitch. So I showed it to Emerald and I was like, we have to make this like a meme. And we decided to call it, we call it 2005 because the video length, it's at least on the thumbnail itself. I think YouTube technically has a discrepancy of 1 second. Like if you click on the video, it'll say it's 2004, but we call it 2005 to reference the video length because we didn't really have a good name for it. I think this was my speedrun.com background for a while. This is Emerald's offline screen. And yes, this is a very popular meme in the Ratchet and Clank speedrun community now, 2005. This is an awesome thumbnail. Okay, by the way, we're going to take a quick break when I finish ranking this, because I want to let my voice rest, first of all, and also I really need to go pee. Please forgive me, chat. I'll try and be quick. But yeah, 2005, baby! I don't want to blow S tier too much with games, which is part of why I'm hesitant to put Ratchet 2 in S.
Put it in S, or else.
I do. Okay, I have to keep saying some more. I know I said I'd start with negatives, but I've been saying the positives as well. It's just I really still like this game. I'd say it's probably my least favorite of the OG4. In a sense, I think it's a better game than Up Your Arsenal, but I feel like I'd prefer playing Up Your Arsenal because that game controls so much better, and it has a better weapon select. The HUD for this game is really nice. The soundtrack is really great. Eranos 1 has a great soundtrack. Uzla's got a great soundtrack. Whoopash / Krugus have great soundtracks. All of the songs on Maktar are great. I really like Felton's track. Notak has some good, like, calm stuff. Tabora has one of everyone's favorite songs, Tabora / Insomniac Museum. But I also like the music when you're in the desert. I wish the game didn't bug out when you reload and not play the desert music. Tadano, Bolden, Eranos 2, Smolg. I actually, okay, I don't want to show this on stream because it could dox me. It would most likely dox me, but I did play a drum solo on a set of drums known as tenor drums. It's a set of drums that's used in marching bands. They're quite heavy. Those drums actually gave me permanent scars on my back. If you were to, I don't personally think what I'm about to describe is very descriptive. I apologize if you think so, but if you were to say, rub your finger down my back, you would feel a couple of like concave bumps. And those are actually scars I got from marching those. Now, what does this have to do with Ratchet 2? I played an original drum solo, and it was split up into 4 sections. The first half was partially inspired by the song that plays on Smolg when you're in the warehouse. So, in a sense, my school now has Ratchet and Clank music baked into its history. Again, I can't show the drum solo because it could dox me. And I only show it to like super close friends when I talk about it in a VC. But yeah, you know. This game has so many good OSTs. I might actually swap this around with Ouya. I don't know. I think I might actually give both Ouya and Ratchet 2. I don't really know. I like them both a lot, but they're not my favorites of the PS2. The characters are all great. You know what? Mapio, I'm so sorry.
And get it open. How odd.
I think I would put it like Ratchet 2 is so flawed. It's also really buggy. This game is buggy. Some tracks don't play at the right times or at all. Literally the best track in Going Commando can't play on any vanilla copy of the game. It's supposed to play on Tadano, and it's shown in a trailer, but you just can't like get it to trigger ever. On some versions of the game, the map-o-matic doesn't show you where the crystals are on Tabora and Grelbin. Grelbin is a terrible level. The level design also suffers a little. Ratchet 1 has really memorable level design, but
Okay,
Ratchet
I will
2...
tell you, on PS2, it's only NTSC Greatest Hits where the map shows the crystals and moonstones.
Oh, also, yeah, I was about to say, on some versions, the platinum bolt counter doesn't work correctly. In Ratchet 1, it would show you how many gold bolts were on a planet and how many you've collected. So surely it would be easy to transfer that to Ratchet 2. But no, on some versions, such as the American Black Label version that is used for speedruns, you just have to go hunt it down yourself. You know, fucking who cares? Anyways, what was I gonna say?
And I think it's only NTSC Black Label that does this, actually.
I think the PS3 versions also do it, but if we're talking PS2, you might be right.
PS3 doesn't.
Really? Okay, interesting. I was also gonna say that there's a bug on Joba. I don't entirely know the specifics, but there's a few ways you could trigger it. The bug in question is that... Oh wait, I don't know why I paused the music. What the hell? I don't really like this song that much, but whatever. On Joba, you can get it so that ammo will never spawn again in the arenas. And here's a couple of ways that I know it can be triggered. Reloading in some way. Waiting on the pause menu or the vendor menu. Waiting on the challenge select. If you wait for too long, you'll just never get ammo again. I don't know how long you have to wait to trigger this, but yeah, you're just cooked. I don't... Okay, I'm gonna put this here for now. I might change my mind. Okay, good night, Ratchet Runner. I'll upload this to YouTube so you'll get to watch the whole thing. I'm gonna put both Ouya and Ratchet 2 in A tier right now because we're gonna get to the games that I really love soon. But yeah, this Ratchet 2 is still really great in spite of it all. It's just, you can kind of tell that in a sense, it's the first game of the series. It's the first game in what we think of as Ratchet and Clank. It's the first game, like, in the style that the series has taken in terms of gameplay and structure. And it really shows. But I still think it's a solid time. I really can't, like, bring myself to put Ratchet 2 and 3 in separate tiers because I love them both equally. But at the same time, they both have a lot of flaws that makes me question if they're S tier worthy. So... next game! Okay, come on. You know what, chat? I forgot. I need to go to the bathroom. I'll leave you guys with the music. Place your bets on what we think the wheel will pick. I will be right back. I'm also gonna pause the recording for YouTube. Okay, I'm back, chat. Okay, so...
And I am lost.
Okay, let me... hold on, I'm gonna check what you're doing. I'm gonna turn off the, screen share just cause. Okay, let me pause the recording again. I just need to check where Eli is in the game. Let me... okay, so let me check that it's recording. It is. So Domka thinks Ace it, me and T-Dex think All for One. Alright, final chance to place. Eli, what game do you think the wheel's gonna pick? The choices are A Crack in Time, Ratchet 1,
Crack.
Deadlocked, and All for One. Okay.
Crack.
2 cracks, 2 alls. I regret saying that. Alright. I'm a little nervous, I won't lie. Oh god. Ratchet and Clank 1. Nobody got it right.
Was it All for One?
No, just Ratchet and Clank 1, the original game for the PlayStation 2.
Didn't we already have this?
Nope, we haven't done it yet. We talked about Ratchet PS4. Alright. Speaking of Ratchet 1... okay. Ratchet and Clank 1. So we know how I feel about Ratchet PS4, and you can probably infer that I somewhat like this game. This game right here is really special to me. This game, like, I didn't really appreciate it, like, until, like, 2022 or 23. But this game, there is a reason we have all of these games, and it's partially because this one was just that good. We can all have differing opinions, but yours is wrong. I'm kidding. Ratchet and Clank 1. Where do I start? This is a game that I would consider perfect, in the sense that any flaws that I can think of are incredibly minor, that they don't really bother me. I remember watching those Ratchet commercials. I wish I could have said the same, but I am literally younger than this game by like 5 months. This game is absolute peak of PlayStation's greatest. You know, with the PlayStation 1, Sony gave us some absolute icons. Ape Escape, Crash, Spyro, Croc. And then with the PS2, they wanted to really expand their horizons. That's why we get games like the Jack Trilogy and the Sly Trilogy. But this right here, this is one of their all-time greatest. This is the game. This is one of the most representative Sony games. In the same way that I think Ratchet PS4 is the definitive PS4 game to show how the mighty have fallen, Ratchet 1 is one of the many definitive PS2 games, one of the greatest on this platform. Absolute classiness. I know I'm speaking in a very different way to the others, but just this game right here, it's classy. This game is like a nice bottle of wine. I could go for... dude, honestly, I wish I had a glass of wine right now. I'd drink the shit out of that while talking about this game. It's just that classy. Alright, so maybe instead of saying how good it is, why not talk about why it's so good? Well, from the very beginning, we already have a great opening where none of the characters talk. And that's not why it's so great. Although, nobody talks in this game. Makes this better than most of the other games. In all seriousness though, but you also get a little mystery of who Ratchet and Clank are. You get a very nice, quick tutorial level. You're taught all of the basic mechanics, and then you're done. This tutorial level later being used as the final level that throws everything the game has had at you. You know, really tough enemies, trespasser puzzles, platforming. Actually, Velden 2 doesn't have that much platforming, but except in the boss, but you know, we'll get to how great. I'm not going to turn this into an entire retrospective thing. I'm not here to do that. But then I'm still going to talk about this game in detail. That's what you came here for. When you get to Nivalis, though, when Ratchet and Clank meet, and Clank just says, interesting, and Ratchet's like, wah! And, you know, they start talking. It's just great. It's just two guys talking. How do we get the plot going? We're introduced to Drek, voiced by the legendary Kevin Michael Richardson. Obani Gemini, nice. And Drek, he's a serious mofo, but he still's got a couple goofy moments. You know, and he's saying, like, he's getting mad at the camera. He's like, you can form a line behind me and kiss my... Or, I like the scene where he's like, using highly sophisticated technology, which you couldn't possibly understand. That's a good scene. It's like, they know that, like, trying to explain how extracting planets is a dumb idea and that doesn't work at all. But they're like, you know what? We're just gonna play it off like that because it's funny that way. It's the best final level. I'd say Ratchet 1, 2, and Deadlocked have the best final levels. Actually, when we get to Deadlocked, remind me to talk about final levels, because I think that's something that the series has stopped being good at after Deadlocked. Yeah, Velden 2 is also great. The boss fight against Drek, with the exception of the fact that maybe there should have been a checkpoint when you get to the deplanetizer. I think that's the only true flaw. I think Drek is like a perfect boss fight. Starting off with a mech fight, it's cool as shit. But then you have to do a little bit of platforming. It's not that complex, but it's, you know... And you have to go through multiple phases. He's using tons of things that resemble the weapons you used in the game. He has mines. He has giant Agents of Doom robots. He has, like, these shockwaves, which you could consider as, like, a upgraded version of the bomb glove, maybe. He has missiles. And he's this gigantic robot the size of, like a freaking... I don't know, a freaking, like, building... And you are just a tiny guy. Like, this height. I know you guys can't really make out, like, how tall I'm supposed to reference Ratchet being, because, you know, I'm sitting down and whatnot, but you take him down with all your weapons. And this game, since the whole premise, as shown on the box art, which you can see right here, is that there's a ton of creative weapons and gadgets, this game encourages you to try all the weapons. You could go guns blazing, and that could be a fun way to play the game, but the game also, like, has level design indicative of a standard platformer. When people say that, complain about this game having no strafing, it's like, I do kind of get if you want to play the game that way, but it's not really like the game needs strafing. A lot of the games encounter, like, some of them aren't built this way, I'll admit. But a lot of the game's encounters are built in the same way you'd see in a classic platformer like Crash or Spyro. It's like, would you say that Crash and Spyro need strafing or Sly? No? Then I think it's safe to say Ratchet 1 doesn't really need strafing. It's a non-issue to me. The secrets are pretty well hidden, like the gold bolts. The skill points, while some of them are bland, there are a couple of cool ones. I like the ones where you can shoot a guy, like a little, like, I forget what they're called, but it's on Orxon, through the hole, and you get a skill point for it. All of the weapons, like almost all the weapons are really good. Some of them you have to come up with creative uses. Like the Taunter, for example, lures enemies towards you. So it's like maybe you want to get them all in like a line so you can just like blast away with the Devastator, because right now there may be in like a wall of enemies, but you want them in a straight line. Use the Taunter. Or the Mind Glove. Maybe you don't feel safe going out to get the enemies, so throw out some mines, and then again use the Taunter and have the enemies come towards the mines. The Visibomb is good for fighting enemies from a safe distance, but it's really slow, so you have the Devastator instead. You have, what else? The Drone Device, it's a nice little shield-like weapon. What other weapons? The Suck Cannon and Morpho Ray. If you need to take down some small enemies, but you don't want to use the wrench, you know? The platforming in this game is very good. The swing shot is just a genius idea. It really gives this game its identity. As well as the grind rails. This game really has a lot of unique platforming sections. I still think, like, I think the games that have done the best challenging platforming is probably Crash Bandicoot. That might be the biggest, like, test of platforming skill that I can think of in a game. Maybe Mirror's Edge, that's kind of a platformer, sort of. But Ratchet 1 still does a dang good job. And then, of course, the fact that you're exploring a large galaxy. Every single level is memorable. You have the really upbeat and happy planets like Novalis, Kerwan, Kalibo 3. You have some more darker planets like Rilgar, Umbris, Battalia. I just realized that's 3 in a row, like, you know. Then you have the ones that are just like, what the hell? I thought this was a funny, wacky platformer for kids. You get to Orxon and Gemlik base, and it's like, what the fuck? Am I in like Silent Hill or some shit? Okay, I'm not. Maybe that's not the right analogy, but still. The only level that's genuinely not fun to play is Orxon as Clank, but it at least had a cool thematic purpose, which was you're a tiny robot on this incredibly polluted planet. You have to explore this planet as this tiny robot that moves slow as shit and has no fighting ability, like, at all besides some punches. Ultanis, I really don't mind Ultanis that much. Ultanis is, oh yeah, Ultanis. If you meant like a more darker planet, like in terms of like tone, yeah. Oh, I guess the Hollow Guys section. I actually don't like Drex Fleet. That is the only level I genuinely don't like at all. Actually, the ship level section of it is pretty fun. Yeah, I like the ship combat. Fight me. There are like 3 bosses in this game. Actually, no, there's 4. The Queen alien is kind of unremarkable, but, you know, again, it's like, okay, I can forgive it, honestly. But the other 3 bosses are pretty good. The Snaggle Beast is a little basic, but he does have a couple elements to him. He has a bunch of unique attacks. You have to jump out of the way of his laser. You have to lure him to lava. He'll get rid of all your ammo. I don't know how that works, but whatever. And it comes right after Captain Quark betrays you, and you don't have time to process the fact that Ratchet is really mad at Clank, evidently. And that too. Dude, okay. I have to say one thing. I know the story of Ratchet PS4 sucks because there's no character arc. I'm willing to forgive that a little bit because of the fact that one of the biggest criticisms with Ratchet 1 was how much of an asswipe he was. Now, I actually like that he was an asshole. I think many of us do now. But that was a criticism. I feel like a lot of people forget how Ratchet 1 and Deadlocked in particular were received in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Because I have brought it up a couple times nowadays and people don't seem to remember that. Like, ever since 2017, no one seems to bring up how hated Ratchet was in the first game. I can't really blame Insomniac for making PS4 Ratchet so bland and terrible. Like, why would they take the risk and make him an asshole again if so far, at this point in history, not a lot of people, especially reviewers, have actually liked Ratchet's character in the first game? So I don't blame Insomniac for that one. In essence, like, in hindsight, they were doing the right thing. They were making the good move for the time. Again, that video by the Gaming Brit, it doesn't really take into... I will say that video doesn't take into account Ratchet's reception in the first game. Ratchet in this game is why he's now voiced by James Arnold Taylor, like, you know. But it doesn't take that into account, the terrible, like, reception towards Ratchet. Oh, this song! Oh my god. And now it's like, well, now the characters are never gonna have any spice again. Because in 2002, people hated character arcs. But at a time where like 3D platformers weren't known for their stories, and to this day they still really aren't. It's certainly no Sly Cooper, at least Sly 2 and 3. Sly 1's a little basic. But Ratchet 1 is still a really great story, honestly. It's satisfying to see it all come together. The difference, by the way, between Rift Apart's characters that constantly say, thank you and I'm sorry, and Ratchet 1, in the ending when Clank, his arm is broken, Ratchet, he's still being his, like, cool, chill self, but Clank obviously doesn't know that, like, Ratchet no longer hates him. So Clank has this really, like, sad moment where he's a tiny robot, he picks up his broken arm, and he starts walking away. He looks back, it's like, dude, holy shit, this is, again, a kid's game trying to, like, get an emotion out of me, and they do it well. And then when Ratchet says a nickname to him, hey, Tin Can, and tells him they need to fix his arm. Also, the OST is obviously really great in this game. So what have we gotten? Like, great level design, great mechanics, great weapons, great ideas, great story, great OST, great aesthetics, a variety of aesthetics as well. New, fresh ideas for platforming. And similar to Ratchet 2, which I've already ranked, every, like, character that you meet is fun as fuck. There's a reason why some of them were brought back for later games. Al, Helga, those two are classics. Captain Quark, he's a staple because he's an awesome guy. He's an awesome character. This game is S tier. Nothing's gonna change my mind on it. This is one of my favorite games of all time. If I did a list of my top 10 favorite games ever, this would be there. I'm not sure if I'd say it's top 5, because these days I'm a horror game person. So it'd already be, filled up with stuff like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. But this is just... I love the shit out of Ratchet 1. This is just absolute, like, a standout of a game. Oh boy! 3 games left. Next game. Oh my god.
Welcome.
Eli, guess what game was put on the wheel?
Awful one.
Okay, I'm gonna show you guys. I have an anecdote. Back in 2012, when I still believed in Santa Claus, I went to GameStop. My parents were going there to get me a PS3 for Christmas. And I wanted a copy of the Ratchet & Clank HD collection. Now, at the time, I found it suspicious my parents were buying me a PS3 when that's also happened to be what I wanted for Christmas. And my mom also asked, like, what game I wanted from the shelf. And right next to... There were 2 games next to each other. The HD collection and All for One. I had seen some gameplay of All for One, and I thought it looked fun enough, but not like... I wouldn't want to play it over, I think... I don't remember how this next part goes, but I think she grabbed All for One, asked if that was the game I wanted, and I was scared of saying, like, no, for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Even though the HD collection was right there. That shit now goes for like $70, I think. But I didn't really think much of it. Because I thought, like, well, Santa Claus will bring me the right game. I don't know why my parents are buying a PS3. Maybe it's for someone else. I don't really care much for this song. Let me see. Ratchet Deadlocked. Ooh, let's pick this one. I love this song. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. I'm a moron. Well, I'm sorry. I'm gonna skip to this one. Okay. On Christmas Day, though, I didn't think I was gonna get All for One because Santa was gonna bring me the right game, right? This is a photo of me in 2012 on Christmas Day, opening up. Like, that smile is not genuine. That's me just trying to be grateful I got anything. That was the only PS3 game I ever had, by the way. I did want like stuff like the Lego Movie game and the Angry Birds trilogy, and I never got them because we just didn't get to them. So that was my only PS3 game, and I was obviously bored as shit because this game sucks. It was to the point that I took so little care of my PS3 that one time my sister stuffed coins into the console. She was like literally like a baby, and my mom was mad at me for letting that happen, and I'm just like, I don't know. This game sucks. This game is a little bit funny. It has some funny cutscenes. But this game sucks. Fuck this game. I hate this game. Literally, like, if you want a co-op Ratchet and Clank game, play Deadlocked. If you want... But if you want something that's a little more like a beat-em-up co-op, like, that's a little bit better for co-op, because Deadlock's not fully built for co-op, play a Lego game. Those are way better. All for One is low C solo. I'm sorry, I can't put this on the same tier as Size Matters. I know nobody likes Size Matters, but it at least has an OST that I like. All for One doesn't even have that. It's also kind of funny that at the end of this game, there's a scene of Dr. Nefarious looking at a picture of him and the other three, clearly reminiscing on the adventure, and then they never like do anything with that. All for One has nice songs. It's around the time of A Crack in Time that I feel like the default audio balancing for Ratchet and Clank games drowns out the music too much. This might be, I just can't. I just can't, I'm sorry. I have like no intention to ever touch this game again. I think it has a good speed run. But I can't, man. Don't make me play this ever again. I've already had enough of it for a lifetime. What is there to even say about it? Nothing is memorable about it. I don't think anything's memorable about it. Besides some cutscenes and how bad it is. Also, why do you have to like use the vacuum to suck up gold bolts? I remember thinking like, why can't I pick up the gold bolt? And so I was just like, okay, whatever. And then later on I found out about it, and it's like, well, it's not like I can just easily revisit the... I have to like go to a menu, select the level I want to go to, then, you know, fired up Deadlocked after 2 months. Hell yeah. Next game. Oh boy. The more we prolong that game, the more nervous I get. What do you guys think it's gonna be? I should have done this sooner, but oh well.
And look.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's crack.
Chat. Let's have a talk. Let's talk like adults. Let's talk in complete sentences. This tier list, I think it's fair to say there's quite a lot of hot takes. QFB in B. PS4 at the very bottom, even lower than All for One. Nexus over Rift Apart. But this is the hottest take of them all. I have the music.
There is some crack up in there.
I know right now. Especially if you're on YouTube and you somehow still watch this for some reason. You're probably like, okay, let's see that S tier ranking. I'm gonna put the music back on, but I can already see it. The 1 or 2 people that are gonna watch this video are already like fucking spamming that dislike button, and they're looking up my house, and they're gonna freaking mail me a pipe bomb. I'm gonna go to the door, check the mail. I'm gonna see a box, think, oh, it's the Crash Bandicoot games Eli sent me. I open it up, kaboom! and my face has like completely like is completely full of ashes like in the cartoons, and my hair looks like, you know, all frizzy and stuff, like a cheap dollar store Goku. I've played this game 3 times start to finish. And each time, do you know the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting it to be different? That's what this game is to me. I understand why people like this game. Because, you know, it's the general story is still not that good because it's the whole last Lombax thing, and now they're throwing in Clank being like a super important guy as well. You know, it's like, okay, trying to flesh out Ratchet a little and have Clank be a support guy. Okay, now Clank is also super important. One, nothing indicated this before. That's a little, you know. But, okay, I don't really care much for this song. Let me, give me a second to change the songs before I... Forgive me. Ooh, this is a good, like, set of songs. Okay. And yes, it has heartwarming moments. The ending of this game has made me shed a tear once. Even though I knew what the ending was, it did make me shed a tear. And I think overall, they actually do a lot with the writing, with what they have, you know, trying to make it somewhat of an emotional story. Alistair Azimuth is like the better written version of Kit. You know, they're trying to have, like, in Rift Apart, they're trying to have Kit be like, I am broken. I will always be broken. It sounds like a child trying to describe how they feel. Whereas Azimuth really, like, you feel bad for the guy. It's like he's a moron who is the reason why his whole race is, you know, but he clearly feels horrible about it. And by the end, it's like, there's a line in Into the Nexus that is like, yeah, A Crack in Time would have been a perfect ending, and I think it should have ended there. I honestly think it would have ended on a high note. It's not my favorite, but you know. I might honestly put this, you know what? It's weird, okay. I kind of want to put this above Nexus. I don't know, these two are kind of equal, in a sense. But yeah, again, they do what they can with the story, and they do accomplish something good. And the ending is great. The ending is absolutely great. A very definite finality, as was also said in the Gaming Brit Show's review of this game, which I watched like a couple days ago because it had been a while, and I thought, I haven't watched this in a while, let me check it out. I really like the Gaming Brit Show's current videos. His analysis on like Silent Hill 2, the Resident Evil games, God of War Ascension, Ratchet and Clank 2, but his older stuff, such as these Ratchet videos, are not to my liking. Not because I disagree with them, I actually agree with a lot of his opinions, but just because his current stuff is a lot more like analytical and serious, I guess, and not as much snarky humor, and he also plays on original hardware, which he didn't do for like most of the Ratchet reviews except Ratchet 2. And it's like, I really like that he does do OG hardware, so it's like, it's hard to come back to his older videos on Ratchet and Clank now. So there's been some discussion on Twitter on whether story or gameplay matters more in a game, and a lot of people have rightfully said, you can still have fun if there's a shitty story involved, but the gameplay is great. But if you have a game with terrible gameplay but a great story, what's the difference between playing through it and just watching the cutscenes on YouTube? I'm not trying to say A Crack in Time has terrible gameplay. I'm not. But this game has really bad level design, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people, when talking about Up Your Arsenal and Deadlock, they will point out how much more combat focused it is, and they will use that as their reason. And that will be their reason for not liking them as much as some others. And that's fair enough. But this game somehow gets the pass. Like, okay. Planet Terracnos. Planet Lumos, I think it's called. The Gimlick...
Planet Terracnos, more like Planet Nerd.
The Gimlick Valley level. Those are all just giant arenas. And they last way longer than anything in Ouya or Deadlock. And The game is not as fun to play. Like, Tools of Destruction controls smoothly, but I think anyone could agree that it has generally slower paced combat compared to its predecessors. But I think the combat was still smooth enough that playing it is still really fun. I don't think this of a Crack in Time. It feels just a little bit floatier than Tools of Destruction, less tight, and maybe a little slower. So having this much combat is not fun. I don't enjoy playing the game because it's the actual combat and using the weapons isn't very fun. Now there are still some good weapons. I like the Constructo shotgun, and I like the Negotiator.
Yo, Chad, I'm negotiating with the gun.
I'm negotiating for my life with my placement of this game. The game's OST, this is also the first OST not developed by, or not made by David Bergyaud. And, I can think of, like, one song that I remember. The Pirate Radio is pretty good. I will say, where I give this game a lot of credit, I like the moons a lot. I think they're, like, I think those, like, obviously there's the ones where you have to fight enemies. They're quick enough that I can actually enjoy them. But then there's some really great platforming levels that are, again, on the moons. Kind of like the Pocket Dimensions from Rift Apart. I don't think the platforming is as good as in Rift Apart, but that's not to say it's bad. I don't think it's bad. But the general gameplay is just kind of stale by this point. And again, the OST is also not memorable to me. And another thing that I really don't like about this game is the graphics. Now, I could be fabricating this memory in my head, but I do think I remember this game hurting my eyes the first time I actually played it. Some levels do look good, like Xanathar, the snow level, but other levels like Gimlick Valley and Planet Lumos, I tried turning down the brightness because, again, they look terrible. I don't like how they look. Pre-rendered cutscenes are obviously better. Nefarious is still pretty good. Even though now now A Crack in Time is low-key the transition between the games being really, like, childish in a sense, while also not, because again, I know there's literally, like, super, like, more mature themes about loss, and Ratchet straight up fucking dies, but at the same time, Dr. Nefarious is here, and his whole plan is to create a timeline where the heroes always lose, and it's like, what? What? Like, okay. Again, I do respect A Crack in Time. You know, stuff like, for example, the space combat. It's a great idea. It's just that I think the positives don't contribute to improving the negatives. The meat of A Crack in Time isn't very fun for me. I don't really like playing through the game because a lot of levels suck, in my opinion. A lot of levels aren't very fun. It's only like extra bonus content or additional like stuff that is fun. Now, of course, again, I do have to give this game some praise. It also has an Insomniac Museum. That's something I didn't praise. I didn't praise that in Ratchet 2 and Ouya. Well, I'm praising it now for all of those games. Like, I get why people like A Crack in Time, you know? I think it's written great. It's written in a way that really makes you think, like, wow, we've gone on a 7-game journey. We're not counting the PSP games. With Ratchet and Clank. And this is where we end off. But I don't feel the incentive to actually see that heartwarming ending because the actual gameplay is not that. Oh yeah, it also has the Clank puzzles. Those are good, of course. It does have those additional Clank minigames that aren't good, like it has the combat and it has that weird minigame where Clank holds up the staff and you have to like rotate a planet. Whatever. But yeah, I don't really like A Crack in Time as much as most people do. I did once set a sub goal to play this casually, and I will put that back up once I come back to Ratchet speedruns, and I promise I'm not going to be like, oh, this game sucks. No, that wouldn't be fun for anyone, not even me. But I do have to admit that this game isn't something that I find very intriguing to play. I think Tools of Destruction is like the meteor game. It's like the much more fun game to play. It has the... Oh yeah, I also meant to say, I forgot to mention this with a crack in time. They retconned the retcon of Angela being a Lombax. They could have gotten away with saying, no, Angela's not a Lombax. She's like an adjacent species. In the same way that apes and monkeys are different like species. But they're like still primates, you know? They could have said something like that. But they don't. They just say that female Lombaxes don't have tails. And then in Rift Apart, they give Rivet a tail. So they retcon the retcon of a retcon.
Yeah, make it make sense.
This is why I can't say the game has an overall good story as much as I just think it has a good writing. Like, the overall story is kind of meh, but the way it's written is good.
Retconning.
Yeah.
Use combine button.
Like I
And
said,
upgrade your health.
this is my hottest take. I was nervous for this, but yeah. I don't really like this game that much. If we were talking about games that I want to replay, I might even put it beneath Rift Apart, but I think it's overall way better than Rift Apart, so that's why it's here. Honestly, I am going to put it above Nexus. I think I'd rather replay Into the Nexus, but overall, A Crack in Time is still the more complete package. But I can't put it in A tier with stuff like Tools of Destruction or Ratchet 2 and 3. I'm sorry, I can't. I've played this game 3 times, trying to see if maybe I'll change my mind. And now, obviously, you don't need to spin the wheel since there's only one game left, but we're going to do it anyways because it's fun. Final game! I wonder what it'll be! And we get to end off on a very high note. Guys, we're at the end. Ratchet deadlocked. We're ending off on a very, very high note here. Alright, where does it go? I know some people that are like, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. I'm a millennial. I hate fun. I'm a millennial. I played Ratchet Clank in 2002. And you know, yeah, this game's really bad. It's really hard for me to put Ratchet 2 and 3 in S, because I don't think they're on the same tier as this game. I think these two games are 10 out of 10s, whereas these three I'd say are 9 or 8s. Or like not 9 or 8, sorry, like maybe Ouya. I don't know if Ouya or Ratchet 2 are 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. It's hard for me to decide. These games are like, I'd rate them 7 out of 10 at max, maybe a 6. Honestly, I kind of want to rate Rift Apart a 5 out of 10 if I'm being real.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to...
Can you like finally like decide what your opinion on the game is?
It's hard because it's like, it's only been a few days. In a sense, this is the Rift Apart's the most 5 out of 10 game I've played. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't feel right to put it like anywhere but B. It's just mid. I don't think the other games in B are that mid. Well, maybe Quest for Booty, but I think Nexus and Crack in Time lean more towards being good. But yeah, Rift Apart's really mid. Maybe, I don't... It's complicated. I'd have to add like an extra tier, honestly, and I don't want to do that. Oh! Belden won. Okay. A Ratchet Deadlock. This game, for like a decade, people called this shit the worst game in the series. People hated on this game. People were considering it non-canon. I remember I was snooping around. I found an old Reddit post from like 13 years ago that was praising the Ratchet and Clank series, but the screenshot they used was from Deadlocked, and there were like several comments saying, okay, but you used the screenshot from one of the worst games in the series, or from the worst game in the series. I remember I found a comment regarding, again, the Gaming Brit Show's Ratchet PS4 video, saying like, I don't agree with this. I think Ratchet 1 was the worst game in the series. Somebody replied saying, I guess we forgot about Ratchet Deadlock. That must have slipped our mind. It's like, are you guys like I swear, everyone was like on fucking like heroin. Everyone was on fucking like drugs in like the 2000s and 2010s. Bro, like, are you fucking high? Are you fucking high? Okay, I'm so sorry, Majestic Hill. I know in a sense that indicates that I'm calling you high. I'm being a little bit funky here. But it's like, that one robot mission made me quit and not return. Shell shock. Anyways, this game right here. This game is like they made what they wanted these to be. Okay, well, the second half of this game and most of this game. And they did it well. For one, Ratchet 1 has like a very overall colorful, variable, you're exploring a cartoonish version of space vibe. Ratchet 2 has a lot more bland looking levels, but I feel like it's intentional since the whole time the game's like, Megacorp is bad news. We tore down an entire forest for resources, which kind of reminds me of stuff like data centers in the modern day. Up Your Arsenal was kind of also confused with the general vibe. Well, no, I don't think Going Commando was confused with the vibe they wanted. I think even if the colors of a lot of levels are bland, I do think it's intentional. Up Your Arsenal is a little bit unremarkable. Like there are still some good looking levels like Koros in Fork's Hideout, but some of them, yeah, it kind of does feel like maybe they were struggling to think of some ideas. Deadlock, though, they decided to, again, now go for a more darker art style. They have the Graveyard of Catacrom 4, the nice, dark, more, like, secretive, like, Rilgar version, or secretive, like, Chronos is, like, a more, like, I don't know how to say it. A less lively version of Rilgar, but it's by design. Star is a nice snow planet, but it doesn't really feel alive, and that's kind of the purpose of the game. You know, it takes place in a specific part of the galaxy in which it's literally lawless. They don't recognize a government, an official government. So even livelier planets like Shar still have that kind of desolate, abandoned feeling. I really like Meraxis. I feel like a lot of people might say that Meraxis straight up looks like one of those piss filter games from the 7th gen. But Meraxis being like a desert abandoned prison that's all rusty is really great. I think a lot of people wouldn't say these feel like expansive worlds. I think they actually do. It's just, again, obviously they're going to clear out the whole thing to make it like a battle course. So it in a way can give, especially if you play in multiplayer, it really gives a liminal vibe to some of these. The Ghost Station is obviously a highlight. That's one that everyone praises for sure. I really like Orxon in this game. While I do have to nitpick the inconsistency with it being a darker green compared to the original game, I still think, like, this is Orxon. This is a cool look into a different part of the planet with the mining facility. I think, like, almost every level except for, like, one looks really great. And they all have a very abandoned, desolate, liminal vibe. The OST is the best in the series, and if you say otherwise, you're wrong, and you probably listen to AI-generated music. Or Tom McDonald. If you guys don't know who that is, don't worry about it. And also, I'm being a little... I'm having a bit of fun. Obviously, if you genuinely don't think it... Actually, no. It's like... I know we have differing opinions, but I once saw somebody say, like, the music is bland in this game, and it's like, okay, I don't think I can trust your opinion on any other music. Like, you probably listen to that, you probably listen to a fucking Falling in Reverse and you think they're peak. You probably listen to that kind of shit. You probably listen to the, like, fucking Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang song. That type of deal. I'm not trying to sound like one of those people that's like, oh, rap music's not real music. That's stupid. But, like, my point is, this game's OST... I literally saw a poll on a Ratchet and Clank subreddit where they didn't give best OST to Deadlocked, and I'm like, dude, whatever drugs you guys are taking, I fucking want some. Again, I'm not trying to insinuate that everyone's a drug user. I'm just having a little fun here. But let's see. This game really feels like the game they've been wanting to make for 2 games now. They clearly didn't really want to make a platformer, or at least a hardcore platformer. They wanted to put the focus on the creative gunplay, and Deadlock does it well, while still having a bit of platforming, by the way. The grind rails are at their most complex here. Well, maybe not their most complex. It's kind of hard to gauge, but you can shoot while on the grind rails, which adds a layer of, you know, because now you're on rails, you can't slow down, so you have to jump and pick the right rail while also aiming towards the enemies, making sure they can't hurt you. The vehicles in this game, I actually do enjoy them. I don't think they overstay their welcome. The Landstalker does feel underpowered, but, you know, it's not the biggest deal. And yeah, there are some missions that suck shit, like the second one on Char. I really like this game's story. I think there were better ways to have been able to tell it, but it's kind of clear that at the start, Ratchet is still the same guy as he was in Up Your Arsenal and Going Commando, still looking for, like, credit and fame and glory. It was kind of hinted at in Ratchet 2 and 3. He's like, you know, I guess nobody needs a hero. When Captain Quartz takes credit for the Mama Tyrannoid, he's like, fuck you. And in Deadlock, he does start off like that, you know? He brags about killing Shell Shock, and he's pretty sassy towards Reactor. He's like, bring it. But then when he takes down Ace Hardlight, telling him that he was a hero once, you know, and he realizes what needs to be done. And at the end of the game, he realizes he's about to die. He might very well be about to die. He's on a station that might explode. He has no way out, at least until Clank comes on in. And he doesn't care. He thinks, you know what? I freed a lot of heroes. I think I've served a purpose. I did something I wanted to do, and if that's how my life is ending, that's okay. He doesn't say it like that, obviously. He specifically says, even if I don't make it out of here alive, at least a lot of other heroes have escaped tonight. But seeing what he was acting like at the start of the game, as well as the previous 2 games, this is where Ratchet does grow into a hero. This is where he really becomes a hero. In a way, the game even kind of reflects that, because there's a difficulty setting called Hero. One thing I wish this game had was an impossible challenge, core-tastic challenge equivalent. I know the whole game does have a lot more like arena combat like that, so it wouldn't have felt as impactful, but I think it should have been added. The final level in this is also the last time that I think a final level in Ratchet and Clank games was good. I think a strength of Ratchet and Clank 1 through 4 is that their final levels genuinely feel like a gauntlet meant to challenge the player with tough as hell enemies, while also having like a very like...
Yeah.
The final levels have like this kind of dark atmosphere, Yeatle, Belden 2, etc. And Deadlocked has that with the dark, creepy-ish hallways of the Dreadzone interior. But now there's a timer, so it's like, oh shit, now there's even more like to this. It's like, this is just the absolute pinnacle of Ratchet combat. And yeah, again, there's not a lot of platforming and exploration, but it's not like the previous game, and to some extent Ratchet 2, were really trying that hard with it. And Ratchet 4 still does have a little bit of platforming, so it's like, you know, whatever. The gravity situation feels heavy. Exactly. I can't really call this game a spin-off, because it doesn't really feel like one. Like, yeah, there's some things that are different, but it's like, You still get on a planet, you play a mostly linear level while shooting enemies and occasionally doing platforming while exploring a big map. It's a little bit different to how the previous games did it, but it's not enough for me to call it a spin-off. Also, I find it funny that this game is called Ratchet Deadlock, even though you could play as Alpha Clank, and he's in, like, a lot of the game. But meanwhile, Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, he appears for, like, 5 seconds, and it's called Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty. The co-op is a great addition. The multiplayer has been expanded upon. This game has the Scorpion Flail. It also has the Harbinger. In Spanish, it's called El Anunciador, which means the announcer, which I think is a fucking sick as hell name. The customization in this game is really great. They even brought it back for a crack in time. And those two are the only games where I think the upgrade system is really good. I'm not a fan of the Raritanium upgrade system. It's like, I don't know. The Raritanium upgrade system feels like they're trying to make something complex of an upgrade system, but I think I'd rather have it how Resident Evil 4 does it, where you don't have to, like, you know, Resident Evil 4's upgrade system is the better version of the Raritanium upgrade system, in my opinion. And you also don't use a unique currency for it. I think it would have been great if bolts were used for the Raritanium upgrades, I guess. I don't know. This game is really great. This game is definitely one of my favorites. I'd probably put it, this is a top 15 game for me. If I made a top 10 list, I'd try and avoid repeating franchises. I think the only franchise I would repeat is Resident Evil, because I love both the remake of 1 and 4, or I love both RE4 OG and the remake of RE1 so much. But otherwise, like, I would definitely put this in the top 15, probably 11th place. But this game, like, reminds me of how great 2005 was. Alongside this, you had Resident Evil 4, God of War, Lego Star Wars, Jack X, Sly 3. I don't mean to sound like a PS2 purist. I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm that much of a PS2 purist, but it really does kind of feel like Deadlocked finished the last of what they could have really done in terms of actual gameplay without having to do something drastic. We have one end of the spectrum with a almost pure platformer with Ratchet 1, and then a game that really puts the focus on the combat with Deadlocked. And then we have two hybrid games with Ratchet 2 and 3. I think the series is at its best when it commits to one type of gameplay, as shown by this by the fact that I like Ratchet 1 and Deadlock the most. But Deadlocked, just like Ratchet 1, I really love this game a lot. This is absolutely like a fucking classic. So honestly, I'm kind of happy that this is the final game that we got to rank. Cause yeah, that's my love letter to Deadlocked. I love the shit out of this game. Again, Ratchet 1 and Deadlocked are games where, like, I'd consider them perfect in the sense that they don't have any major flaws that would really be worth addressing. I want to keep gushing about this game, but, you know... Oh, actually, one thing I have to praise this game for... They don't speak every 5 seconds. The characters don't speak every 5 seconds. There is still a lot of dialogue, but here's the thing. Here's the difference between Deadlocked and the PS4 game / Rift Apart. You can go in the settings of Deadlocked, turn down the speech volume all the way, but when you get to a cutscene, you will still be able to hear the dialogue. If you still want to watch the great cutscenes while not being, like, talked to, you can have that. You can have that. The game accommodates this. In Rift Apart and PS4, if you turn down the speech volume, they will still be muted even in cutscenes. Not that you're going to want to watch the cutscenes because they suck ass. But, you know, if you still want to watch them, it's like, why? Why are you forcing me to go in the menu so many times just to make your game playable? Deadlock doesn't do this. So in Deadlock, you can just turn down the volume, hear some fantastic music, and the sound of guns going boom. My only true criticism with Deadlocked is that maybe there could have been more chances for unique combat scenarios and incentivizing certain weapons being used. Maybe give me like, for example, a level where I have to snipe some enemies.
I mean, that's what they tried to do with the skill points.
Yeah, but still, I think it should be forced upon the player. When I play Resident Evil 4, it does like remind me of that, because Resident Evil 4 does take the risk and throw out a lot of unique combat scenarios. But yeah, Deadlocked was my favorite even as a kid. I didn't even know people hated it, because it's like, how could you hate this game? It's like, okay, yeah, if you really don't like Deadlocked because, you know, you prefer to have somewhat of a sense of exploration, then yeah, you know, it makes sense. You know, I can't fault you that much. But for me, it wasn't that high of a... Like, the previous two games didn't do those aspects to a high enough standard to where Ratchet 4, dialing it back even more, felt like a downgrade. It really doesn't feel like a spin-off or a massive change from the series for me. It really does just feel like an evolution of what they wanted to make. And yeah, that's my tier list of all the Ratchet & Clank games, casually speaking. I did not think this would be 2 hours and 41 minutes. What the fuck? I don't really have any final thoughts. I guess I'm not going to play the next Ratchet & Clank game, even if they were to, you know, bring back discs, because Rift Apart was fine, but it's just not a game that, if this is where the series is going to head down, then I don't think the series is for me anymore. Fun games, but too much bad stuff that it really overshadows the fun stuff. Without, like, OSTs that are memorable, or cutscenes that are fun, and any attempts to make character arcs always feeling underbaked. They're at least fun games, yes, but I have a ton of fun platforming games I can already play, and there are still platformers coming out. I'm not really... Rift Apart wasn't really a good advertisement for the next Ratchet & Clank game, because again, they're still dragging on this Lombax storyline. Next year will mark 20 years since the Lombax storyline began, and we don't even have a new game announced. The last game was 5 years ago, and it ends on a cliffhanger where they're like, hey, we'll finally go to the Lombax dimension. Is that really the way that you guys want to remember the series? Is that the way this series should be remembered? Because I feel like that's how it'll be remembered. The series that just kept going too far down a hole that it shouldn't have dug in the first place, until it just falls into a cave and it can never get out. The series isn't horrible these days, you know? I wouldn't say it's a horrible series or a bad series. But it's not for me anymore. It's not for me. People won't play it. Yeah, I think a lot of people also won't play it because no discs. But even if they do end up having discs, it's not a series for... It's not for me anymore. If the Ratchet series was just Ratchet 1 to a Crack in Time, that would have been a generational run. Hell, maybe I would have even put a Crack in Time in A tier, if anything. Because it's like, okay, I understand what, you know, I feel like, you know... But I don't know. I feel overall happy with this list. I'm willing to give praises to some of the weirder games, like Quest for Booty and Into the Nexus, because of the situation they were in, and still actually being quite solid. Size matters, I don't hate it as much as most people, but it's, yeah, why would I play it when I could play the future series that are the first 4 games? If we were ranking these by how much I would be likely to replay them, I'd probably put A Crack in Time a little lower, but I think overall as a game, it's in the right spot, if anything. And yeah, Rift Apart is probably my least favorite Ratchet & Clank game that isn't like a meme game or a super short game, I guess. I do think it's my least favorite, which kind of sucks. Because I can tell Insomniac does want to do better, but they aren't being given the chance to since they're working on Marvel slop. And it's kind of a shame because now, like, I don't think they'll ever really achieve a Ratchet and Clank game that was great again, in my eyes at least. Again, differing opinions. You know, if you don't agree with this, and I don't think a single soul will agree with this, especially with that crack in time placement. That's fine. You know, we're all friends here. I've grown numb to hearing people act like Deadlocked was the work of Satan himself, or Ratchet 1 being bad because there's no strafing, and it's like, I'm curious to see how you react to Spyro the Dragon. I love Ratchet and Clank. Check out my speedruns. I haven't speedrun it in a while now, but go on my speedrun.com page or my YouTube, just scroll through for Ratchet and Clank speedrun. I mainly run Ouya and Deadlocked, but I've also run the first 2 games, and I'm thinking of trying out Tools of Destruction. I run other platformer games like Crash Bandicoot and Sly Cooper, and right now I'm running horror games. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into an ad for myself, but if there's anyone that watches through the end, it's like, yeah.
I mean, it's your Twitch channel.
Would I say it's my favorite game franchise over Jack and... I would say Sly is my favorite. I'd say Ratchet is on equivalent to Crash. And I'm not the biggest fan of Jack, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's just between Ratchet, Jack, and Sly. I love Ratchet and Sly so much more than I like Jack. But Jack is still pretty good. It's just such a weird series for me. But Jack 1...
I feel like Jack series is more weird than Ratchet, honestly.
Oh, for sure. Jack 1, 2, and X, those games are pretty good. They all have flaws, but I still think that Naughty Dog was trying something, and they overall
Yet
achieved it
you
again.
avoid Jack 3 because you just hate it for no reason.
I have a reason for it. Somebody's gonna watch this and be like, he hates Jack 3? Oh my god, when did the bad take stop? Maybe I'll make a tier list of like Ratchet and Clank speedrun categories. I wouldn't rank all the games as speedruns, because that wouldn't... I don't think it'd be right to rank the games that I haven't run. Great tier list. Thank you, Nautical. You're probably the only person that'll ever say this. Everyone else will want me... They're gonna explode me with my mind. With their mind, I mean. Alright.
I will explode you within my mind in great regard.
Would I rank the Rack OST?
Oh god.
Ratchet 1, 2...
How long do you want to sit here?
Okay. Oh, every individual song? No, because I don't feel like listening to songs from freaking Full Frontal Assault. If we want to do the general OST, Ratchet 1, 2, and 4, S tier. A tier for Ouya and Todd. B tier for... Actually, A tier is also for Size Matters. B tier for Nexus. Everything else is in C or lower. That's my ranking of the OSTs. Maybe I'll do a...
Like the OST, basically OG4 as well, yeah.
And
Then we have the PSP games, which are also as good. And then you have Todd and QV.
if I do ever
a
decide on a speedrun tier list...
And then B, and then everything after QV is just F.
If I do a speedrun tier list, I would do them as individual categories that I've personally ran. So it would just be most categories of Ouya and Deadlocked, half of the ones in Ratchet 1 and 2, and if I run Todd by then whatever I run in Todd. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Peace out. Catch me on Twitch.